monetary systems that are supporting international trade operations in the world. Then after I finish this one, I would like to discuss few monetary systems prevailing in Sri Lanka, uh, where they are supporting the import-export business in Sri Lanka, right? Because since this is everywhere in the world, uh, international trade is international trade. The same principles apply. It will be governed by UCP, URC, all the ICC guidelines. So everybody should do the same thing. So when they are doing the same thing, then there should be some monetary, how we are going to monitor uh, monetary system, right? Of how we are globally supporting these operations, right? When we are talking about the global monetary systems, the first one we are going to discuss is the GATT. GATT is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, right? We all know that in the Second World War, which was started in 1939 and ended in 1945, after America put 2 bombs to Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Then only, with a vast destruction, still there are signs we can see. Still the children are born with all sort of defects due to the atomic bomb effect. So in 1945, this came to an end, right? Then once the war was over, the people, the countries who were involved in the war, they were trying their best to come up with their economies. Because there was a story, I don't know how far it is true, but the story was during the Second World War, the Germany was the main party, Hitler, who involved in this one. They says to buy a loaf of bread, buy a loaf of bread, they have to carry money in a wheelbarrow. So that means the Deutsche marks, Deutsche currency is marks, Deutsche German currency. Deutsche marks was worthless. That's why they were carrying the currencies in a wheelbarrow to buy 1 loaf of bread. Right? It may be an exaggeration of the events, but it gives us some indication how difficult these countries were going through after the Second World War. Right? So any country, even by what you have learned so far, any country, you can see, if you want to improve your trade balance, if you want to improve your trade balance, what you have to do? What do you mean by trade balance? In your balance of payment book, what is the trade balance? What is trade balance? Can somebody give me the answer? There are university students of graduates, right? So you must be knowing these things.
The difference between imports and exports?
Yes, simple. The difference between import and exports. That's a trade balance. right? So if the imports are more, like in Sri Lanka, and the exports are less, then it will be a negative balance. The trade balance will be in red. If your exports are high and your imports are low, then you will have a favorable trade balance. So every country wanted to have a favorable trade balance. So because of that, what they did was they wanted to discourage imports to the country. They want to discourage imports to the country. Their imports to the country is an export of another country. You agree on that, right? In a particular country, their imports means exports of another country, right? Then, uh, to make it a favorable balance, what they did was all the countries they started uh, putting massive import tariff, massive import tariff on their imports. So when they impose the massive tariff, obviously what is going to happen? The the unit price of the imports will go up. When the unit price are more, people will not buy those product. The people will not buy those product, right? Anyway, people were having a hard time after the World War. Uh, so obviously, it is controlling the imports. But everybody wants to do that. Then what is going to happen to the exports of the countries? That will get affected. So because of that, some leading superpowers like America, UK, German, uh, France, and Italy, and all those people, they got together and they discussed we have to standardize the import tariff. You earlier, every country has their own prerogative, right? They have their own choice. They will impose the tariff, but they said no. There should be a standardized import tariff, right? So that is why the GATT was set up, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, initiated to standardize import tariff and technical standard requirements with a view to encourage economic growth through world trade, right? In GATT, every of periodically they had these revisions. Any organization, you have to have periodic discussions to revise the guidelines. So in GATT, these periodical discussions were called rounds, GATT rounds, right? The final GATT round, known as the Uruguay round, it was known as Uruguay round because they held that discussion in Uruguay. It started in 1986 and the discussion went on till 1995, right? 1995, about 25 years back. So then by that time, GATT was set up in 1948. From 1948 to 1986, right? During that 38 years period, 38 years period. Now the world has settled down. I don't know whether there are people who were born before 1986, maybe 1975 or 76, or else you may have learned these things through newspapers, news articles, or books, right? Uh, By 1986, the world was okay, almost stabilized. Every country had their own way of doing the things. ලංකාවනත් අපි 86 වෙනකොට අපි ඔක්කොම ඉවරලා අපි තව යුද්ධෙකුත් පටන් ගන්න 83 නේ. ඒක ගියා ගාට් එක වගේ එකක් ගියා 2009 වෙනකම්. ඉතින් මේ වගේ සිටුේෂන් එකකදී from 86 to 95 people were arguing, the members were arguing. They said, do we have to maintain this guard still, because now all the countries are acting on their own, right? There's no point of having a general agreement on tariffs and trade. Then they decided, okay, in that case we will close down the GATT. So the GATT was officially closed down in 1995, from 1948 to 1995. In 1995, GATT was closed, but another organization was born. That is WTO, World Trade Organization. So in 1995, in other words, 1995, WTO came into existence in place of GATT. We just go through the history of the GATT. 1947, it was the negotiation started with 23 countries initially, right? Then they entered provisionally into an agreement which was in force on January 1st, 1948. Then the important things are, between 1949 and 1956, there were 4 rounds of discussions of tariff negotiations, because that was the initial period. That initial 7 years period, they were having 4 discussions, 4 rounds to discuss the tariff negotiations, right? Then 1957, creation of the EEC. Still, it's very powerful, this organization, right? EEC means European Economic Commission, right? Then 1962, derogation to the GATT rules in the areas of cotton and fiber were negotiated, right? Later to evolve into the multi-fiber agreement. The cotton and fiber, they said they can't adhere to these GATT regulations, so they set up some multi-fiber agreements, right? 1964 to 67, that was a Kennedy round. Because John F. Kennedy was leading this discussion. That's why it's called Kennedy round. Another important thing happened during this Kennedy round, that was UNCTAD was created, right? UNCTAD was created to press for trade measures to favor the developing countries. UNCTAD is important to Sri Lankans because so far we had only one eminent Sri Lankan heading such world organizations. UNCTAD was a leading world organization, right? All this time we were trying to put our nominations to United Nations Secretary General and all those things, right? UNCTAD වගේ එකක අපිට අපේ ලංකාවේ එකම එක පුද්ගලයයි මේකේ ඉහළම තැනකට ආවේ. That is none other than Dr. Gamini Korea. Dr. Gamini Korea, right? Dr. Gamini Korea is the uncle of Lalit කවුද සෙලන් එකේම තියෙන්නේ? සෙලන් බැංක් එකේම
ලලිත් කොතලාව.
ලලිත් කොතලාවල. sorry නම ආවේ නෑ. ලලිත් කොතලාවල. ලලිත් කොතලාවල's uncle. ලලිත් කොතලාවල mother's brother. Right. In 1973, 1979, that was the Tokyo round. Multi-fiber agreement negotiated in 1974 to restrict export growth and extended several times thereafter. 1986, 1994, Uruguay round of negotiations, and in April, in 1994, a Marrakesh protocol signed establishing the creation of the World Trade Organization. Marrakesh can city the protocol sign establishing the creation of the World Trade Organization and to close down that. Right? Amitra Mandila Tina over the first, second rounds G Kela till 1995, 1945, 45, 48 Valina, first, second, third rounds, right? In 1955, I told you we had the fourth round, it went down till 1956. Then Dillon round, then 1965 Kennedy round, then 1975 Tokyo round, and 1985 Uruguay round, right? Uruguay round given in 1995. Multilateral agreements. After during the GATT period, between the banks, between the countries, the most popular one was bilateral agreements. Bilateral agreements between two countries, right? But once this was converted to WTO, then they introduced a multilateral agreement. Multilateral agreement means more than two countries. If it is agreement between two countries, then it's bilateral. Agreement among more countries, we call it multilateral. Right? Like, can you give me some examples? SAARC, ASEAN, again, own multilateral agreements, G20 countries, multilateral agreements. SAARC countries, SAARC agreements, right? That is not between one country or two countries, it's a pool of countries. Then coordination mechanism for achieving mutually beneficial trade outcomes, right? Then we will talk about World Trade Organization. GATT is now over. World Trade Organization or WTO is born, right? It begins its operations on January 1st, 1995. The initial membership was approximately 162 countries. All the members of the GATT were automatically converted to WTO. They all joined. Then initially they had 162 countries. Initially they had about, not that, there is 162 countries as of November 2017, right? Initially got 23 countries, ඊට පස්සේ ටික ටික වැඩි වුණා කියලා ගත්තත් අපි එච්චර ගොඩක් තියෙන විදියක් නැහැ. Right? දැන් වෙනකොට අපිට ඉන්නවා 2017 162 countries as of 2017. Secretariat is based in Geneva with a staff members of 625, headed by a Director General based in Geneva. Functions of WTO is administering and implementing the multilateral trade agreements. At present, 16 different multilateral agreements in WTO. Right? Then Forum for Multilateral Trade Negotiation. WTO, World Trade Organization, they are encouraging countries to have multilateral agreements, trade agreements. Right? So because of that, they act as a forum for multilateral trade negotiations. Then another function is dispute settlement between countries. If they have a trade dispute, WTO will intervene and settle the dispute. Overseeing national trade policy. Just read that function. Overseeing national trade policy. ඒ කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ trade policy එක අපිට ඕන විදිහට හදන්න පුළුවන්ද? අපි කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ස්වෛරී ස්වාධීන ජනරජය. ඒත් අපේ trade policy එක it has to be international trade policy එක it has to be sanctioned by WTO, World Trade Organization. After that, they supervise. They are overseeing the national trade policy. Right? Technical assistance and training for developing countries. Technical assistance and training for developing countries. Right? Then, මගේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක වැහිලා තියෙන්නේ මේක ඔයගලන්ට පේනවද ලාස්ට් එක කෝපරේෂන් ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ක්ලියර්ලි පේනවද?
Yes, sir.
ඒක පේන්නද? ඒක cooperation
with IMF and World Bank.
IMF and World Bank. Cooperation with IMF and World Bank. Right? Okay.
So you can hide that notification.
Oh, I don't know how to hide that.
There is.
Yeah, hide, yes. ඊට පස්සේ මට ඕනට දාගන්න පුළුවන් ඒද දන්නේ. මම හයිඩ් කරන්න ඔය කියන ළමයා මට මාව ගයිඩ් කරන්න ඊට පස්සේ මම හයිඩ් කරලා පස්සේ හරි මොකද්ද පුතාගේ නම?
අමිල.
අමිලට කතා කරන්නකෝ. How to guide me again? Right. Okay. Kena mana dah apa dah kan?
සර් ආයි පාරක් සර් ඔක බැක් කරලා ආයෙ එනකොට ආයෙ ඕක එනවා එතනට නිකම්.
Right. WTO basic principles. Trade without discrimination. That is one of the principles. Then predictable and growing access to market. Undistorted fair competition. Undistorted fair competition. And transparency. When you are having trade, it has to be transparent. Transparency. And even the WTO basic principles. Then we go on talking about the international financial system history, right? Now we discuss about creation of the GATT after the Second World War. Then another question came up about the value of the currencies. Value of the currencies in respective countries, right? Then the people, some countries, they got together and they started discussing about how we are going to set up a value for these currencies, their respective currencies, right? So we call this discussions Bretton Woods discussion. Bretton Woods discussions. Bretton Woods is a town in New Hampshire province in America, right? So එකේ මට මට හොටෙල් එකක් නමුත් එනේ හොටෙල් එකේ තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ වාඩිලා මේ ඒ countries වලින් representatives ලා then they were discussing about fixing the respective currencies, currency values. Then they came up with a idea. IMF created in the International Monetary Fund එකක් පටන් ගත්තේ Bretton Woods as a result of Bretton Woods discussion. Right? They said in the Bretton Woods discussions, they said they should fix the currency value of a country according to the gold reserves they are holding. Gold reserves they are holding. So obviously, the countries like America, UK, Germany, and Japan, right? They were holding more gold reserves. They were holding more gold reserves because of that their currencies were strong. But poor countries like us, it was limited, right? So based on the currencies, based on the gold standard of our country, they were valuing our currency, right? The main Bretton Woods discussions within Tamai are International Monetary Fund, IMF, right? IMF was formed in 1945 and they commenced operations in March 1947, right? And also another organization, monetary organization, was developed, that is World Bank, IBRD, World Bank, right? And they began operations in June 1946. June 1946. Right. These two organizations were the outcome of international conference of 44 nations held at Bretton Woods in July 1944 to plan the post-war monetary system. Right. So these are the outcomes of the Bretton Woods discussion. Creation of IMF and the World Bank. IMF was formally formed in 27 December 1945. The headquarters at Washington, D.C., USA. Right? Membership, 29 countries founding and 188 countries today. Initially, they had 29 countries founding members and 188 countries today. Right? IMF එකම ගාවම තමයි අනිත් පැත්තේ next building එක තමයි World Bank එක. Towers දෙකක් තියෙන්නේ. ඒ towers දෙකට අපි කියනවා twin towers කියලා. මොකක්ද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මතක් වෙන්නේ twin towers?
September 11.
Sama Bill Darden.
Yes. 9/11 attack. 9/11 attack. Ne 9/11 attack එක දුන්නේ මේවා දෙකට. Right? එකක් IMF එක අනිත් එක World Bank එක. ඔය දෙකටම දුන්නේ. තාමත් ඒ බිල්ඩින්ග්ස් එක හදලා නැහැ. ගිය අවුරුදු වෙනකොටත් ඒක හදලා නැහැ. මේගොල්ලෝ I have visited the place about 4 years back. එතකොටත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අස්සන්ට පෙන්නනවා ඒ බිල්ඩින්ග්ස් දෙක තිබුණ තැන. දැන් බිමටම මේ වෙලා ඔක්කොම ඩෙබ්‍රිස් අයින් කරලා නිකන් empty මේකක් තියෙනවා මොනියුමන්ට් එකක් එක්ක. Right? Okay. Benefits. IMF promotes international monetary cooperation and exchange rate stability. Exchange rate stability ka megalo maintain kare IMF එක initially with the gold standard, right? Gold reserves. Then facilitate the balanced growth of international trade. Facilitate the balanced growth of international trade, right? Then provide resources to help members in balance of payment difficulties. They always provide resources to help members of IMF in balance of payment difficulties. මේක නම් ඉතින් කරනවා අපිට මේ අපේ රටේ දැන් ඊයේ සුමානේ සුමාන දෙකකට තුනකට කලින් අපි බජට් එක හැදුවා. බජට් එකේ බජට් ඩිෆිසිට් එක වැඩියක් මේ කරගන්නේ ආපහු IMF loans වලින්. They give loans, right? But the country is in a real bad situation because every country with developing countries, people's needs are different. Whatever the government comes into power, people's needs are different. Payments into kanda කරා යෝනේ. දැන් ඒ දැක්කනේ ඊයේ පෙරේද අර COVID-19 වලට ලොක්ඩවුන් කරලා තියෙන ඒරියාස් වල කෑ ගහනවා කන්න නැහැ කන්න දෙන්නේ කියලා දැන් ආපහු අර ආයෙත් ලෙඩ වැඩි වෙනවා ඒත් එකට කෑ ගහලා එකට ඉඳලා එකට ගුලි විලා right? People don't care what is going to happen to them, but they need හැබැයි අනිත් පැත්තෙන් එහෙම දීගෙන ගිහිල්ලා අපිට අමාරු වෙట్లా තියෙනවා. I read an article today. It says, I don't know how many people have read that article, because of a foreign debt situation. From 2021 to 2024, the අපිට ගෙවන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා about 20 billion American dollars. 20 billion American dollars අපි ගෙවන්න ඕන ණය අරගෙන. In other words, every year we have to pay about 4.5 million වගේ ගෙවන්න ඕන අපි. 4.5 billion American dollars අපි ගෙවන්න. What is our international currency reserve එක මොකක්ද? අද වෙනකොට dollar reserve එක. We are having only 5.9 billion dollars. 5.9 billion dollars අපි total dollar reserve එක. තියාගෙන we'll have to pay about 4.5 billion dollars every month to service the debts. How we are එහෙමත් තියාගෙන අපි තවත් loans අරගෙන තව අපි හිර වෙලා යනවා. අපි ණය උගලක පැටලිලා කියන්නේ ඒකයි. right? දැන් ගොඩේන්නේ විදියක් නැහැ. ණය ගත්ත මිනිහා ණය වලින්ම තමයි එක්කෙනකින් ගන්න අනිත් එක්ක අර දෙනවා අනිත් එක නම් ගන්න අනිත් එක්ක අර දෙනවා. ඒ විදිහට තමයි යන්නේ. නඩ to assist member countries to achieve macroeconomic stability and reduce poverty. To assist member countries to achieve macroeconomic stability and reduce poverty. Right? Okay. But there are so many criticism on IMF. Right? You read this, I'll be back in 30 seconds. Right? Right. What are the criticism on IMF? Because all these things are very true. The main criticism is for being out of touch with local economic conditions, cultures and environments in the countries they are requiring policy reforms. Right? This is a very serious criticism. You all know, you are in postgraduate class, there are some experienced people also there, and you know that every time when IMF give loans to us, they impose certain conditions. They impose certain conditions. If you look, you should not give free education. You should not give free health services. Right? You should not do this, do that, and all those things. But they are not thinking about the culture and the economic conditions of country, local conditions. Right? So they are on a, they look at the overview position and then they dictate terms to the borrowers, right? And sometimes they say they require policy reforms. Another criticism is that IMF programs are only designed to address poor governance. Excessive government spending and excessive government intervention in the market. They don't want the government to get involved in the market. They said, okay, give it to the private sector and the prices will be determined according to the supply and demand for that particular item. But in countries like Sri Lanka, is it happening? It is not happening. Right? In other words, what they say is, for trade, you don't get, the government should not get intervene. Government intervene උනේ නැත්තම් මොනවද වෙන්නේ ලංකාවේ රටවල? දැන් බලන්න අපි සුමාන දෙයකට කලින් කිව්වා sugar 85 rupees කියලා. කොහෙද තියෙන sugar 85 rupees? මේක වැඩි කරලා. Brown sugar එක ඊයනකොට 149. The normal sugar, some supermarkets they are selling at 80, 89. Supermarkets are ලාභ there. අනිත් ඒවා 90, 95, 100 එක ගණන් වලට පොඩි කඩවල විකුණනවා. ඉතින් එහෙමනම් what we have to do is to, the government has to get intervene in the market and bring down sugar and distribute through the outlets, CWE, cooperative societies, okay, the outlets, marketing department, then no. Do not black market, buy no. Then some other developed countries look very happy. Now, pay farm government intervention, make it a right? The hall or to them, hall then. They were get the mind, right? Regular, through the government sector, we have to buy rice, sugar, and then give to the people, right? Okay. Then World Bank. The World Bank is an international financial institution that provides loans to developing countries for capital programs. IMF gives the loans. The difference between the World Bank and the IMF. IMF gives loans to bridge their budget gaps. Right? World Bank is capital programs. And they give loans only to developing countries, not for developed countries. The America and UK, they can borrow from IMF, but they cannot ask for any facilities from World Bank, because World Bank is giving only for developing countries, not for developed countries. And again, that is for capital programs, right? The World Bank comprises two institutions. The first one is IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD. And the other arm is International Development Association. International Development Association, IDA. The World Bank, one is IBRD, the other arm is IDA, International Development Association. The World Bank was established in July 1944. The location again is at Washington, DC, USA. A joint towers here. Right? Membership as of last year, 188 countries. 188 countries. We are members of IBRD. IBRD normally World Bank right? IDA 172 countries. Okay. The history of World Bank, 1944 to 1968, it's a reconstruction and development loans provided by World Bank were relatively small. They gave to developing countries reconstruction loans for reconstruction and development. Loans for reconstruction and development. But the amounts were relatively small. In 1968 to 1980, the size and number of loans were greatly increased. 1968 in the size and number of loans also they increased. 1980 to 89, the bank emphasized lending to service third world debts. Bank emphasized lending to third world debts. 1989 to present, bank started lending to environmental organizations, groups and NGOs, which prompted criticism. In the main last take, අත්දකින්න පුළුවන් වුණා. 1989 වලින් පස්සේ 2009 වෙනකන් අපි ඔක දැක්කා. We had a war, internal war, civil war එක තිබුණානේ. ඒ civil war එකේදී ගොඩාක් එහා පැත්තට terrorism කට්ටරිස්ලට ෆන්ඩ් උනේ through NGOs. Because for NGOs, they gave loans for reconstructions and all. The Jaffna, Muttur, Benai, reconstructions, NGOs order, they're going to sell it. World Bank. Sell it, do not pass it, siphon, and it. Sell it. When a development table, nay. Then at the time, Mama Bank, hitting on the night. And I was heavily involved at that time with finance intelligence unit, FIU. Right? Then the defense secretary was Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. What he did was, he did the very correct thing. He saw this threat and he said, okay, all these NGOs who have been open accounts with us for ages, right? He said, we have to review all the mandates and see their area of work and all. Review them. Review them about 90% of the NGOs were closed down. Banks accounts are mandates of that. They were so powerful, NGOs. Banks were salary humble on a then okay, situation. Again, out there, funding funding it was easy for the government to back the fellows, right? So make a criticism there, make a IMF and World Bank, IBRD, the comparison, right? Chutaban monkey under moon and below payroll. Can you go through it? IMF is when you take the purpose, it's a monetary institution. IBRD is a development institution. Right? Then activities stabilizing international monetary system and financing of temporary balance of payment deficits. It's a temporary thing. IBRD promoting economic growth and development in developing countries. Right? Source of funds, official reserves and countries' currencies, special drawing rights, and the fund. IBRD fund capital quotas issued in international bond market. Then eligible borrowers, all members. IMF. IBRD only developing countries, not for developed countries. Outlook, short term, IMF. Whereas IBRD, the World Bank, is long term. Right? Credit horizon, IMF loans are generally, we have to repay within 3 to 5 years period. Right? IBRD loans are long term, 15 to 20 years, sometimes maximum 50 years of tenure. 15 to 20 years of tenure, maximum 50 years of IBRD loans, right? Any questions? Any questions up to now? Please ask. Any questions? All right. IBRD loans තමයි World Bank loans තමයි ගොඩක් වෙයි African countries වලට හම්බෙන්නේ infrastructure වලට පාරවල් හදන්න water service electricity ඒවට දෙන්නේ World Bank loans, right? Right. Another organization also attached to World Bank is IFC, International Finance Corporation. International Finance Corporation is affiliated to the World Bank, established in 1956. This is to promote private capital flows to developing countries. Private capital flows to developing countries. The World Bank loans, then private companies, government to government, right? But IFC loans, then private sector to promote private capital flows to developing countries, right? Invest directly in private companies. Matakai, when we were starting the Cargill Bank at that time, IFC people came to Sri Lanka and they did a survey of the Cargill Bank. They talked to us also as a senior managers. There were about 5-6 of us supporting to set up the bank. Then personally interview. They want to know about the background of us. බලලා තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිට දුන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගත්තා අපේ shares වලින් 10%. මට මතකයි 10% ගත්තා. 10% ගත්ත ගමන් මොකද උනේ? When IFC has purchased 10%, everybody wanted to buy the shares. Everybody wanted to buy the shares. දඩ බඩ ගාලා shares ටික ගියා. Central Bank එක මාත් එක්ක රණ්ඩු වුණා. Central Bank එක මාත් එක්ක රණ්ඩු වුණා. ඒගොල්ලන්ට තවත් 10ක් වුණා කියලා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් දන්නවා ෂුවර් එකටම IFC check කරලා okay we are going to invest කියලා කියන්නේ මේකේ ෂුවර් organisation එක. right? එතෙන් යාට ඒගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. අන්තිමට මම මතකයි EPF රණ්ඩු වුණා මාත් එක්ක අපිට මේක ඕනමයි කියලා. මේක ඕනමයි කියලා. 10% ඕනමයි කියලා කිව්වම IFC කිව්වා හරි in that case we will withdraw, you better give them the shares කියලා. Central Bank එක ඕන කළේ මොකද්ද? IFC එකේ මට එකක් තියාගෙන මේකට join වෙලා ඉන්න. දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක කියන්නේ නැතුවනේ ගියේ. අරගොල්ලෝ දැනගත්තා ඔය ලස්සනට ගේම් එක ගෙවුවා. උන්කෝ ආයෙත් උගලන්ට ඕන ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේක තියාගන්න. මෙන්න අපේ ටික තියාගන්න කියලා ඒක දුන්නා. අරගොල්ලෝ ගත්ත ගමන් මේගොල්ලෝ ෆිට වුණා. දැන් අයියෙන් මේ EPF එකට මුල් තියන්න බෑනේ. right? ඔන්න වගේ situations වෙනවා. දැන් ඊට පස්සේ ඒගොල්ලෝ මට මතකයි immediately they went to our parent company at that time, Cargill chain එකට ගිහලා they invested money with them. Right? දැන් ගොඩාක් banks වලට මම දන්නවා IFC funds දීලා තියෙනවා. නම් කියන්නේ නැහැ ගොඩාක් banks ඉන්නවා. companies ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. Cargill, Scales, Apico වගේ ඒවා කොහොම IFC facilities දීලා තියෙනවා. අඩු rate එකට. They invest directly in private companies, provide loans or guarantees to private investors, and also IFC borrows from IBRD. The meeting then the IFC salary pe ඒගොල්ලෝ borrow කරනවා IBRD එකකින් World Bank එකකින්. right? Then another one, we call it World Banking mainly dependent on IBRD and IDA. IBRD and IDA. IBRD के क्या लगता है IFC एक private sector arm में कितना fund करना चाहिए. Then International Development Association IDA, this was established in 1960. This specializes in loans to most needy countries at low or zero interest. They give to most needy countries. Right? African countries, good luck, may IDA loans. Congo, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Gabon, the countries. Yeah, IDA loans are again, no. Samarla repayment period, 50 years old again. 50 years old again, okay, you do the what do you call this? Roads, electricity, water service, drinking water, and never projects are the IDA loans then, right? Provides funding for infrastructure projects such as transportation and energy supplies, which do not make short-term commercial return but are vital for development. Right? Okay. Then another organization, Bank for International Settlement. Bank for International Settlement. Who is our banker's banker? Who is our banker's banker? To whom we go for final borrowing? Huh?
Central Bank?
Central Bank. Central Bank is the banker's banker, right? And all the central banks in the world, they are reporting to Bank for International Settlement. It is central bankers, central bank. Our central bank is the banker for banks. Banker for central bank. This was established in 1930. Partner, right? Originally to coordinate payment of German war reparations among European central banks. Headquarters in Basel, Switzerland. Then one pretty belle country, headquarters in Basel, Switzerland. Internationally coordinates monetary policies to ensure orderly conditions in the international financial markets. Managed by 20 board members representing G20 countries, most powerful countries in the world. G20 countries, my board take a compression. Right? Head office at Basel, Switzerland. Ring on the bell again.
Basel Accords.
Basel?
Basel Accords.
Yes. Basel Accords then there are the Basel 1, Basel 2, Basel 3 kila apita dala dena accords okko dala apita central banking apita pressurize කරලා කියන්නේ මේවා ගන්න ඕන capital banks වල capital එක වැඩි කරන්න ඕන by 5 billion, right? ඒ ඔක්කොම වැඩි කරන්න ඕන 5 billion වලට අඩු වුණොත් ඒ banks වහලා දානවා, or they will merge with some other bank. ඒ ඔක්කොම එල්ල තියෙන්නේ Basel 1, 2 වලින් 3 වලින් එනේවා. අපි Basel Accord කියලා කිව්වට මේ Basel කියලා කියන්නේ මේ ටවුන් එකේ ඉඳලා of central bankers, central bank. Where the BIS situated, Basel, Switzerland. A Basel lending dinner orders තමයි Basel Accords කියලා අපි යන්නේ. Right? In 1988, minimum capital adequacy standard for banks, Basel account. Minimum capital adequacy standard for banks. Then increasing confidence in the international banking system. Minimum capital adequacy is even though they introduced in 1980, අපිට 2000 අපි මේ කළේ. දැන් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ තාමත් අපි දෙනවා grace period දිදී මේව හදන්නේ කියලා. Right? Setting common competitive conditions for international banks, level playing field. 1995, new prudential standards were introduced to constrain the market risk, Basel II. අපේ Basel II අපි 2010 වල විතරයි. In 1999, revised and refined yardstick for assessment of banks lending and liquidity risk, Basel III. මම හිතන්නේ නෑ Basel III අපි තාම ආවද කියන එක. දැන් මට I'm out of touch. ඔයගොල්ලෝ පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. දැන් යන්නේ කියවෙන්නේ කෝඩ් එකද කියලා. හැබැයි අර මේක තියෙනවා minimum capital adequacy standard. ඒක නම් අපිට every year වැඩි කරන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. Right? Because of that, I know some banks they got down money from investors overseas. They are the only people who can bring us massive amount, right? ඒ වගේ දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ stabilize කරගෙන යනවා. Okay. Then another organization is Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank, ADB. මේකත් හරි common එකක් ADB එක. ADB loans අපි ගොඩක් අපි කරනවා. ADB loans වලදී අපි කරන්නේ Asian Development Bank, established in 1966. Headquarters in Manila, Philippines. ADB has 67 members as their members, and they'll make loans and equity investments for economic and social development of member countries. Right? Makes loans and equity investment for economic and social development of member countries. Right? Largest shareholders are Japan, US, Australia, and New Zealand. Lending activity focus on energy projects, transportation, agriculture, and industry. Asian governments are the biggest borrowers. So ADB is very close to us. Most of the banks, they are getting ADB loans, ADB facilities to promote energy projects, transportation, agriculture, and industry. අපිට කියන මේ sectors වලට අපිට loans දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එච්චරයි ප්‍රමාණය. ඒ ප්‍රමාණයට අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? ඒක තමයි ගොඩක් යන්නේ ADB loans ගොඩක් යන්නේ. අපේ ගොඩක් යන්නේ agriculture යනවා, energy projects යනවා. මේ ඔහුගේ කාලේ banks වලට දුන්නා මේවා solar. If anybody wants to fix a solar panels at their houses, these people were giving facilities at 6%, 6.5% of the loan. එතකොට දුන්නාම ADB guarantee එක තියෙනවා. I think banks will buy it. Right? Okay. Any questions on the organization what we have discussed? Kiran? Canada, and then අපි යනවා ඊගාව discussion එකට. I will discuss about the other local organizations. Can you see this presentation?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Sri Lanka Export Development Board. Fine. All this time we were discussing about the internationally recognized institutions that are governing the international trade operations, right? Globally. Now we are discussing about some organizations that are governing the international trade operations locally. One such organizations we have already discussed, that is STRESIC, Sri Lanka is Sri Lanka Export Trade Insurance Corporation, STRESIC, right? This is another organization supporting import-export operations in Sri Lanka, that is EDB, Export Credit Development Board. Export Credit Development Board. We all know in 1970 to 1977, 7 years, we had a very close economy. And after Mr. J.R. Javadana came into power in 1977, he opened up the economy. Right? Then they said it's an open economy. Right? Then when he wanted to open up the economy, when he introduced the open economy theories and all those things, he wanted to promote exporters. So for that, they set up an organization, right, to promote and development of exports in Sri Lanka. It was called Sri Lanka Export Development Board, EDB, right? That was in 1979 under the Sri Lanka Export Development Act number 40. Right? Okay. Then we'll see what are the services provided by EDB to Sri Lankan exporters. And they will provide facilities to exporters as advisory services to exporters requiring guidance and information. Right? Whenever a customer wants to, importer or exporter wanted some assistance, they will help. But especially they will promote exporters, export development, right? Then market promotions and development programs. Exporters forums for exporters to air their grievances and obtain solutions. Very important. Right? Exporters forums for exporters to air their grievances and obtain solutions. And conducting training programs, seminars for specific products markets. Conducting training programs on import-export procedures. I know, EDB trainings. EDB trainings. Ekenek pat kyan ban? Banks lang yawan wala. Nah, kawat na gila. Then video documentaries on exportable products matters. Publication of periodicals, for example, Expo News, Business Links, Eva Karane, EDB. Right? Then online access to international database. They have an international database. So the members can have online access. So whenever you want to export your product, how to find a buyer, the buyers are there, buyers list එක තියෙනවා, ඒකට support කරනවා. Right? Invert buyer missions from overseas market. Invert buyer missions from overseas market. සමහර overseas markets එල්ල මෙහෙ buyer missions දානවා. එතකොට අපි ඒකෙදි support කරනවා. මොකද අපේ exporters තමයි යහපතක් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. Conducting group sales missions, trade fairs, buyer seller meets and contact programs in overseas. Facilitation for small producers, exporter link ups. Assistance, market promotion and development programs. Assistance to resolve problems to exporters related to infrastructure and products. Integrated product market development programs and programs for supply development, product development, production adoption, quality improvement and selected agricultural product. The last එක ටිකක් important වෙනවා. ගොඩක් වෙලාට අපිට quality improvement very important. Quality improvement ඒ quality improvement එකට අපි පොඩ්ඩක් train කරලා ගන්නවා නම් ඒ program පවත්වලා මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට ලොකු සහනයක් වෙනවා. right? මම දැකලා තියෙනවා මේ tomato industry එකේ කොහොමද tomatoes pack කරලා එවන්නේ, ඒ plastic boxes, crates ඒවා කොහොම ඒගොල්ලෝ ලස්සනට හදලා nominal price එකකට දෙනවා. දර තක්කාරි ටික ලස්සනට අසුරලා ගේන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්තම් වෙනදර ගෝණි වල ගේන්නේ. ගෝණි වල ගෙනල්ලා export එකට දුන්නා. export කරන්න හදනකොට මේ ඔක්කොම තැලිලා. මේම නෙමෙයි තව රටකට යනකොට ඒක එන ක්‍රමයට යන්න ඕන. ඒවා තියෙනවා මේවල ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරලා දීලා තියෙනවා. Right? Then the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. It's another organization that will help the Sri Lankan market. The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce was established in way back 1839 during Britishers' time. It can result out of the secret raya. The secret kit to Galla. The secret kit to Galla. Make a Dagna history. Business services provided to exporters. Business services provided to exporters. Particular මේක තේරෙන්නේ නැද්ද දෙයක් තියෙනවා මට අහන්න. අරකම තමයි මම කියන්නේ එකම දේ කියවන්නේ. මේක තේරෙන්නේ නැති එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. Right. Issuing publications on trade, export and investment promotions through inbound and outbound missions, operating a computerized information services, issuing business opportunities and bulletins. Issuing business opportunities and opportunities bulletins. Right? The main bulletins are business opportunities. We have the we are manufacturing certain things. We don't know how to get the support. Right? A assistance again, and they also assist distinct businessmen to make contacts in Sri Lanka. Right? So that we will encouraging our exporters to meet those people. Then issuing business opportunities bulletins, issuing quality surveys for exports, issuing letters of introduction to members traveling abroad on business. Right? That's another one. Then maintaining a computerized reference and lending library. Maintaining a computerized reference and lending library. Exchanging information with chambers of commerce in other countries. Hama country ke chamber of commerce tiya. Egot ek api extend kala banu. Right? Okay. Anything else I want to add? These people are also issuing ATA Khane guarantees. ATA Khane guarantees. ඒක දන්නේ දැන් ATA Khaneයක් issue කරන්න කොහොමද කියලා මම කියලා දුන්නානේ. හරි. right. එහෙනම් අපි ඊගොල්ලෝ එකට යනවා. Can you see this slide? Counter trade?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. There's another thing which we have to learn, counter trade. Right? ඒකත් අපේ සිලබස් එකේ තියෙන හින්දා අපිට ඉගෙන ගන්න වෙනවා. මේක අපේ ලංකාවට වැඩියම නෑ. But it is happening in less developed countries. It is happening in less developed countries. Okay. First, we'll see what is counter trade. Counter trade means exchanging goods or services which are paid for in whole or part with other goods or services rather than with money. Right? The common characteristics of counter trade arrangement is that export sales to a particular market are made conditional upon undertaking to accept import from that market. Right? Okay. අපි මේක තේරුම් කරමු පොඩි example එක ලේසි. Right? Counter trade means exchanging goods or services which are paid for in whole or part with other goods or services rather than with money. There are certain countries whose their foreign currency or their currencies cannot be convert to any other currencies. Cannot be converted to any other currency. මොකද හේතුව ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ currency එක powerful නෑ. දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාව rupees අපේ powerful. ටිකක් හරි powerful. ඒකෙන්ද අපිට පුළුවන් ඕනම country එක rate එකට exchange rate එකකට අපි convert කරගන්න. These are convertible currencies. But certain countries, their currencies are not convertible. Right? Because they don't have that much of foreign reserves and all. ඒක demand එකක් නැහැ. අන්න ඒ වගේ රටවලුත් කොහොමද business ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ. ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ මේ counter trade වල. ඒ කියන්නේ එක බඩුවක් වෙනකොට තව බඩුවක් අපි ගන්නවා. barter system එක වගේම. The reasons for counter trade are some countries lack commercial credit or convertible foreign currency. මං කිව්වේ convertible foreign currency to pay for imports. And therefore counter trade is needed to finance imports. Right? Its counter trade is needed to finance imports. Some developing countries use counter trade to boost their developing manufacturing industries, which will enable them to export more goods by means of counter trade arrangements. Right? Some countries are counter trade as an instrument of their political and economic policies. මම මේකේ කැලින් කියලා දෙන්න. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවා මොකක්ද කියලා. Easiest way is to understand what is counter trade කියන එක by way of a problem. Then we'll look for the solution. Right? Problem එක කියවලා solution එක කියවන්න බලන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවද කියලා ඊට පස්සේ අපි තේරුම් කරගමු. කියලා බලන්න. Right. Now the problem is a UK exporter sells capital goods to a less developed country. Right? LDC country එකට. උංගල කියවන්න කිව්වේ දැන් මම තේරුම් කරනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ටිකක් තේරෙනවා. There are payment in the currency of the LDC due to LDC government restrictions on exchange control that prevents the UK exporter from converting the LDC currency into sterling. Now they have a less developed country in Africa, we say, their payment in the currency of the LDC, right? Or the, if the UK exporter sells capital goods, then they have to get the money. They have to get the money from foreign exchange, money from LDC country. But the thing is, LDC country, their currencies are not convertible. No value. So because of that, this is how they are going to do the operation. But they have to do the operation, no? Then they may have to make an end. They make up mama kule can do tema. Right? And they're gonna balance. The UK exporter, no. UK exporter. He will sell the goods to the LDC importer. LDC importer sell karna. Sell karna අපි तो මේක දීලා තියෙන්නේ mining equipments. Mining equipments කියන්නේ දැන් ගොඩාක් ඔය LDC countries වල South Africa වල in the African region එකේ, even though they are very poor, they don't know their value of some certain situations, right? එතකොට දැන් මෙතෙන්දී මේගොල්ලන්ට ඕන කොහොමරි බිස්නස් එක කරගන්න. දැන් අපි හිතුව මයිනින් ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එක තමයි ගොඩක් කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැහැ කොච්චර මේ වටිනා කරන බඩු තියෙනවද කියලා. Tin, zinc, then gold, diamonds. ඔය ඔක්කොම තියෙන්නේ African countries, so called LDC countries, right? Only thing is, for that particular industry, they need certain capital goods. Capital goods can ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන machinery ඕන, mining equipments ඕන, mammals වගේ උදළු වගේ ඒ වස්තු ඕන. එක එක equipments ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන. ඒ ඕන හින්දා අර UK export එකෙන් ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්නවා LDC country එකේ mining කරන මිනිස්සයා එයා ගන්නවා, එයා import කර ගන්නවා mining equipments import කර ගන්නවා. හැබැයි දැන් pay කරන්න කොහොමද දැන් අර ඒ mining මේවට ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ අර LDC මේ country එකේ මේ mining equipments import කරපු මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවනේ ඒ export මේ import. එතකොට එයාට කියනවා එයා කියනවා හරි මම ඔයාලට මේකේ value එකට දෙන්නම් sugar. මම මේකේ value එකට දෙන්නම් sugar. එයා sugar කරන්නේ නැහැ. එයා කරන්නේ වෙන sugar කරන කෙනෙක්ට කතා කරලා කියනවා මෙන්න මේච්චර worth of sugar යවන්න මේ country එකට. Then for that guy, the sugar manufacturer, our LDC fellow will pay. ඒක pay කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. ඒක pay කරන්නේ internally නේ. රට ඇතුලේ currency එක දෙනවා. දුන්නාම ඒක ඇති මේ ඒක අර sugar importer, sugar exporter හරියට. So then he will export sugar to the UK guy. Now UK guy has parted with the machinery. In return, what he has got is sugar. But in UK, sugar is needed by everybody. ඒක හින්දා මෙයා කරන්නේ ඒ sugar ටික විකුණනවා. UK exporter will sell the sugar in the country and recover the money. එයාට මේ sugar business එකට යන්නේ. එයා කරන්නේ wholesale එක උතුරලා දාලා ගන්නවා. Right? So this is how it is happening. හැබැයි මේකේ තියෙන පොඩි catches ටිකක් තියෙනවා. කියන්න බෑනේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ කතාවෙන් තේරුම් ගියේ වෙන්න පුළුවන් අප්සෙට් මොනවද? වෙන්න පුළුවන් අප්සෙට් මොනවද?
Drop in sugar price.
Huh?
Sugar price drop වුණොත්
Sugar prices drop වුණොත් එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔව් sugar prices drop වුණොත් එනවා. එතකොට තව එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් මොකද්ද? sugar prices drop එකක් anticipate කරන්න මෙයා කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒක sugar prices drop වුණත් නැත්නම් මෙයා කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන මොනවද? මොකද LDC country එකේ importer mining equipment ගන්න මිනිහ හැමතිස්සෙම අමාරුයි. මෙතන manipulate කරන්නේ terms dictate කරන්නේ UK exporter. මොකක්ද කරන්න පුළුවන්? එයාට පුළුවන් අර mining equipment එක අපි හිතමු ඇත්තටම price එක $10,000 කියලා. Mining equipment එකේ ඇත්තටම price එක $10,000 equipment. But instead of $10,000, he overvalued it to read as $15,000. They can do it because he is the only person who is willing to supply the mining equipment to the LDC country. Most of the other people, they don't want, because they know that they can't get the money, right? Unless you do a counter trade. ඒකින්ද මෙයා කරන වැඩේ අර ඇත්ත value එක 10,000 ඕන එක මෙයා manipulate කරනවා up to 15,000 කියලා. ඉතින් එතෙන්දී වෙන්නේ මොකද? That guy is getting sugar worth of $15,000, whereas he has parted with an equipment worth of only $10,000. තේරුණා නේද? එතකොට අර මිනිහට පාඩුයි imported පාඩුයි. right? ඒ වගේ issues වෙනවා. There are 6 types of counter trade. One is offset. Offset can traditionally been used by governments around the world when they have made major purchases of military goods or high technology goods, but it's becoming increasingly common in other sectors. මෙන්න මෙහෙම දේවල් තියෙනවා මේක offset කරනවා. ඔය South African countries වල African region එකේ South Africa දන්න East, especially East Africa, Central Africa වල ගොඩක් වෙලාට ඔය titanium වගේ ලෝහ වර්ග හම්බ වෙනවා. Those are needed to manufacture weapons. Missiles එහෙම හදන්න ඕන මේ precious metals හම්බ වෙන්නේ African region එකේ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන වැඩේ ඒවා අරගෙන and they manufacture aircrafts and arms and ammunition and everything out of that. And as a payment, what they will do is they will supply those military goods to that country. ඒගොල්ලන්ට අර military goods supply කරනවා. ඒ වගේ රටවල් දෙකකට තුනකටම එකම මිනිස්සයා දෙනවා. එකම country එක දෙගොල්ලන්ටම දෙනවා. රෂියාත් කරනවා, ඇමරිකාත් කරනවා, ෆ්‍රාන්සුත් කරනවා, ජර්මනුත් කරනවා, UKත් කරනවා. They are playing with African countries. හරි? ඊට පස්සේ ඒව දෙකම දුන්නාට පස්සේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? අපිට එරිත්‍රියයි තව ඒක ළඟ තියෙන joining country එකයි කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මේ මිනිස්සුන්ව ප්‍රොමෝට් කරනවා. අය උඹලගේ country එක අල්ලන් ඉන්නේ මේ අල්ලපු රටේ ගහලා ගනින්න. උඹලට මම අපි දෙන්නම් බඩු. helicopters දෙන්නම්, planes දෙන්නම්, මේ truck දෙන්නම්, ammunitions දෙන්නම්, ඔක්කොම දෙන්නම්. ඉතින් මෙයා ගහනවා. හැබැයි එයා දන්නේ නැහැ අනිත් country එකකට මේ ඒ country එකේ resources අරගෙන ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ට මේ ඔක්කොම දීලා කියලා. දැන් යුද්ධය යනවා නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? තව ඕන මේගොල්ලන්ට ආයුධ ඕන, තව ඕන helicopters ඕන, තව ඕන දැන් විනාශ වෙලා. right? හරි අපි supply කරන්න. හැබැයි අපිට අර materials ටික දෙන්න. offset කරන්න ඒකට. super powers කරන්නේ ඔන්න ඕකයි. ඕක තේරුම් ගන්නකම් African countries වලට කිලින් වෙන්නත් බෑ. right? හැබැයි මිනිස්සුන්ට උනේ කොහොම හරි එදිනෙදා එකට ගන්න shape එක යන්න. ඉතින් ඒවා තියෙනකම් මේවා වෙනවා. right? Then counter purchase. A foreign supplier undertakes to purchase goods and services from the purchasing country, importer, as a condition of securing the order. Counter purchase is generally imposed for two reasons. First, to stimulate exports, and second, alleviate the balance of payment deficit resulting from imported goods. Right? Then counter purchase saying when a foreign supplier undertakes to purchase goods and services from purchasing country. Again, among කලින් කිව්වාගේ අර ප්‍රොබ්ලම් එකේ වගේ එයාගෙන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මොනාර goods ගන්න. ඒක එක අතකින් හොඳයි balance of payment deficit. Right? ඒ පොද imports වැඩි වෙලා ආරම වෙනවනේ. ඒක currency වලින් ගෙවුවොත් නේ settle කළොත් නේ මේ අපේ balance of payment deficit එකක් එන්නේ. currency වලින් නැතුව බඩු වලින් settle කළොත් ඒකේ අහුවෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? අන්න වගේ issues තමයි මේ counter purchase එකේදී වෙන්නේ. Tolling. Tolling කියන්නේ in a tolling deal, supplier himself provides the raw material. For example, steel ingots, and hires capacity of the factory to turn into finished goods. Then ලංකාවේ අපි steel corporation එකේ steel ingots අරගෙන then we prepare the small steel tubes. Right? මිලිමීටර 10 12 16 අපි කම්බි හදනවා. හැබැයි ස්ටීල් ඉන්ගොට්ස් කියන්නේ ලොකු යකඩ කඳන් තමයි දාන්නේ. ඒ ටික අපි මේව කරනවා මේ සප්ලයි කෙනෙක්ගෙන් කෙලින්ම අපි ස්ටීල් ඉන්ගොට්ස් ගන්නවා. අරගෙන සල්ලි වෙනුවට අපි යාට සප්ලයි කරනවා finished goods, steel tubes. Right? These are then bought by a final customer who pays the supplier in cash. Throughout the process, the supplier retains ownership of the material as it is processed by the factory. Product countries වල මේ tolling system එක යනවා. Barter is the fourth one. Barter is very popular. Barter system is very popular. මේකෙදී කෙලින්ම instead of goods, instead of paying for the goods, මේගොල්ලෝ බාණ්ඩ හුවමාරුවක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ලෝකෙ ඉස්සලාම සල්ලි එන්නත් ඉස්සලා වෙලා තියෙන බාණ්ඩ හුවමාරු ඒක සිද්ධ වෙනවා. Right? ඒක ඔයගොල්ලෝ බාණ්ඩ සිස්ටම් එක ගැන හැම එකම ඔයගොල්ලෝ කිව්වලා දරුවත් එකක්. ලංකාවේ බාණ්ඩ සිස්ටම් එක වෙනවද?
Oil for tea we did with Iran before the sanctions, I think.
Oil for tea එන්නේ පුතේ බාණ්ඩ සිස්ටම් එකට වඩා වෙන reason එකක් නේද? Because of another reason. Can you tell me the reason? Okay, now අපිට දෙන්නේ oil for tea කියලා වෙන රටවලට අපි යන්නේ oil for food කියලා. Oil for food කියලා. ඒකත් it's a sort of barter. මම හැබැයි locally වෙනවද කියලා. ඔයාගේ කතාවත් හොඳයි. ඔයා අලුත් මගේත් ඔළුවට ආපු නැති එකක්. අපි කතා කරමු මේක. I mean oil for tea or oil for food. Why these projects are there? With which country we are doing this? World එකේ
So other countries, probably that superpowers, they are impose some action on Iran. Based on that, they are giving that oil to Sri Lanka and taking that tea from Sri Lanka.
Yes, that is one thing, right? Oil for food doing it, take because the Iranian currency cannot be transact through New York. Block Iranian currency. Sorry, when Iran, I'm sorry, Iran cannot transact in dollars. Iran cannot transact in dollars. Majority of transactions in international trade are in dollars, right? In dollars in current berry, freeze karno. Suddenly amount freeze karno. Amount freeze karne in the megalo karne. Then they supply, because Sri Lanka, countries like Sri Lanka, we have to buy oil, but we can't pay in dollars. We have dollars, but we can't pay in dollars because they can't collect the dollars from the banks, right? It's banned. It's what I mean. Api economic deno tea instead of that. Ye wageyamai Iran walata ona, they need food for them to survive. They need food. Ekat megullo අනිත් රටවලින් ගන්නවා ෆුඩ් අරගෙන ෆුඩ් අයිටම්ස් අරගෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒනොට ඔයිල් දෙනවා. රයිට්? ලංකාවෙත් ඔක වෙනවා. මේ මම දන්න කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා මේ බාටර් සිස්ටම් එකේ ඒගොල්ලෝ බිස්නස් එක කරනවා. මම හොඳටම දන්න කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ නම් කියන්න බෑ මොකද නම් කිව්වොත් ඔයගොල්ලෝත් දන්නවා. හැබැයි ඒ මිනිස්සු කරනවා බාටර් සිස්ටම් එක. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ගෲප් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ එග්‍රීමන්ට්ස් දාගෙන ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ විදිහට කරනවා. Compensation or buyback deals. Compensation or buyback deals mean buyback is a form of a barter that is favored by some Eastern European countries. Suppliers of capital goods agree to be paid by the future output of the factory. They are supplying, for example, Eastern European countries to make a they have the factories. Now, the companies like ICI, International Chemical Industries, they could sell a mechanical processing plant. They will sell the mechanical processing plant to a less developed country, and in return, they will not get the money because those monies are cannot be converted. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්නවා අර ප්ලාන්ට් එකේ එන අවුට්පුට් එක. ඒ කියන්නේ ෆිනිෂ් ගුඩ්ස් ගන්නෙ කෙමිකල්ස් අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ට ගන්නවා. The plant's future output of chemicals as the payment. ඒකට කියන්නේ compensation or buyback deals. Switch or swap trading. This is another interesting thing, right? Now, if you have 3 countries, A, B, and C, the B imports goods from A. So that means we have to pay A in cash. Right? Then pay කරන්න අපිට සල්ලි නැහැ. රටේ foreign exchange නැහැ. අපේ convertible උත් නැහැ කියලා අපි හිතමු. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ the country B will sell some other goods to country C. Right? Country C එකට දෙනවා. එතකොට country C has to pay us. Country C has to pay us, no? Instead of country C paying us, we at this particular time, we tell country C Okay, instead of settling my bills, you send me only the invoice and all, right? But no payments. I don't want any payments. The entire amount you pay to A on behalf of us. On behalf of us, you pay to A. එක රවුමට කැරකිලා යන්නේ. Switching or stopping trading. Right? මේක තේරෙන්නේ නැති කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද? මම දැන් මෙතනට එනකම්. Right? Okay. Additional risk faced by the exporter in counter trade. The cost of counter trade might exceed the exporter's expectations. The cost of counter trade might exceed the exporter's expectations. The exporter might be pushed into agreeing to accept large quantities of unmarketable goods. දැන් අපිට අරෙන් එනවා නම් අපි එක්ස්පෝර්ට් කෙනෙක් අපි කරලා අපිට එන්නේ බඩු වලින් නම් අපිට එන්න තියෙන බඩු අපි සුද්ධාරාමය කියන ඒක ඒ වෙලාව මෙහි මාකට් කරගන්න බෑ. right? මේ මාකට් කරගන්න ඒක රිස්ක් එක. The importer's country might place an unrealistically high value on the goods they wish to counterfeit. මං කලින් කිව්වේ ඒක. Since several parties are likely to be involved in counter trade agreement, it will increase the risk of cancellation of an export order due to a party failing its contractual obligations. Ready? What you go, bro? Right? Okay. Then අපි ඔය තුනම අපි දැන් කළා. right. ඊගාව section එක කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා මම ඕගලන්ට මම දැන් මේ අපි පොඩි බ්‍රේක් එකක් ගමු මම මේ ටික සෙට් කරගන්නම් පොඩි බ්‍රේක් එකක් අරගෙන now tell me how many people did questions of URC fileable? How many people did questions of URC fileable to? Andurne kidane karala kidane karala kidane karala එකනකත් කළේ නැද්ද? ඈ? Come on. මේ කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලෝ එක්සෑම් එක කරන්නේ? අපි ඒක කොහොමද කරන්නේ? එහෙමනම් යන බලන්න ගණන් ටික කීයක් කළාද? මම ගණන් දුන්නනේ. තව කරන්නේ කියලා. දැන් අද මම ඔය ගණන් එකයි මොකද ගණන් වලට ෂුවර් එකටම ගානක් කියන්නේ හින්දා මට ගාන උගන්ව තරව කරගන්න ඕන. හරිද? තව ගණන් දෙකයි ඉතුරුලා තියෙන්නේ නේ? කරගෙන ආවද?
Yes.
කළා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකලා මේක කළා තියෙනවා. ශාන්ලි කළා තියෙනවා. right? හරි. හැබැයි අනිත් එකත් දැන් මට ඕන. ශාන්ලි you didn't do the other one? You are fileable?
No, sir, I couldn't. No, sir, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. Right, but definitely we have to discuss these things because these are important. Right? Okay. We have about 50 people. Please don't leave because we are going to discuss the sums as well as URC fileable too. which is very important, and definitely you are going to get a questions in your final exam, right? Make a miss no tuganda product you know, but until I get the thing sorted out, please take 10 minutes break. I know that you also might need a cup of tea or something, right? Take a 10 minutes break and come back. Now it is 3:06. Can you come back at 3:15? Can you come back at 3:15? Right? Just have a cup of tea or cup of water and small break and come back. Meanwhile, I will set up the other thing. Right? Okay. Vinadi. Haridama 3:15. I'm going to start. Right? Okay. Okay. Can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Up to which place we did? Ajit, we did last week, no? This particular one. මේ සම්මේක අපි කළා නේද කිසුමානේ? ඒ කළාද නැද්ද?
ඒක කරේ නෑ සර්. ඒක තමයි කරන්න දෙන්නේ.
මේකද කරන්න දෙන්නේ. මේකද අපි කළේ. මේක අපි කළා නේ. ඊළඟ අපිට කරන්න දෙන්නේ අජිත් වෙන්න. Okay. I hope the people have come back. Right, okay. Can somebody tell me how many people are there, the participants? 35, 40?
44.
44, good, okay. We had about 51, so others will come back. They will rejoin, okay. Shall we read this question? Our customer Ajit Limited, buyer right? Amount and terms, single shipment of $500,000 each month on 60 days DA terms, right? On 60 days DA terms. Ajit is the exporter and their buyer is from Dubai. And their exports are on collection basis, 60 days DA. In order to manufacture product, Ajit Limited will need two kinds of raw materials, A and B. Ajit Limited need two kinds of raw materials, A and B. Purchase of A on site DC terms locally. Site DC issued 6 weeks prior to the date of delivery. Purchase of B from South Korea on 60 days usance DC. Import DC for raw materials to be issued 6 weeks before the date of shipment. Goods and documents to be received in Sri Lanka 2 weeks from the shipment. minimum order quantity for B is US dollars 200,000. The minimum, there's a minimum order quantity for item B, right? Minimum, they have to order US dollars 200,000. For each export shipment, raw materials requirement is 200,000 US dollars worth of raw materials from A and US dollars 100,000 worth of raw materials from B is needed for one export shipment. But the minimum quantity for B is 200,000. Even though we need only 100,000. Right? The clearing charges and custom duty for shipment B is US dollars 20,000 and will have to be paid on arrival of goods. ඒක තියෙන shipment B කියලා තියෙන්නේ. shipment A එකට මුකුත් කියලා නැහැ. එවනම් අපි B එකට විතරක් කරමු. Right, will have to be paid on arrival of goods. Time taken to manufacture the goods and export them will be 4 months from the receiving of raw materials. 4 months from the receiving raw materials. Right? Again, manufacturing period take 4 months. Yeah, questions is Ajit Limited is a FCBO customer. Enang apita conversion rate tag on FCBO customer and request financial facilities in US dollars from your bank. Sri Lanka rupees then the palm out. Right? US dollars in FCBO customer. You are required to structure a package of financial facilities. Package of financial facilities for the purpose of servicing this order. For the purpose of servicing this order. Indicating the basis on which the revolving credit limit for each facility computed. Right? Indicating the basis on which the revolving credit limit for each facility computed. Again, you have to give the reasons. Right? Okay. Now we will do the sum. Can you draw the single straight line? Right? The mark and the make it a marker working. Right? To purchase A, left hand side corner, left hand side, the very left, right? A kela side DC. A equals to side DC. How much? US dollars? Side DC, US dollars how much? Here the DC gets very big.
$200,000.
$200,000.
$200,000.
Yeah, $200,000. Right? Etanama yatin raw material B on 60 days usance DC. 60 days usance. 60 days usance. DC ka. Here the amount US dollars.
100,000.
100,000.
200.
No.
200,000.
200,000. Why?
Yeah, minimum.
Minimum order quantity for B
Order.
is 200,000.
200.
You have to be very carefully read this. Are you? Okay. Now we have to mark 1.5 inches from left corner the shipment date. Shipment date. Then we have to open the LCs. How many weeks prior to the delivery?
6 weeks.
6 weeks before the shipment. Again, the very left corner point to shipment date. Gap means 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Then you need another 2 weeks for the shipment to receive the 100. There are 2 weeks. There are 6 weeks and 2 weeks. How many weeks?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. That means how many months?
2 months.
2
2
months.
months.
2 months. Very good. Then another 1.5 inches from your shipment date. Marker and arrow kapal goods and documents. Goods plus docs. Goods plus docs. The shipment date and the goods plus docs arrival after 2 weeks. Right? Okay. Immediately we'll have to do the payment of a site. Import loan then api balannawa make a kohamat tiyenne B එකේ මේක තියෙන්නේ 60 days usance DC 60 days usance DC කියන්නේ shipment එකේ දන්නේ නෙමෙයි from the day we receive the docs, right? From the day we receive the docs. So that means goods received date again then 60 days give. Then they know first accepted payment. Acceptance payment. Acceptance payment. Right? 6 days. 6 days 2 months. How many months it will take to manufacture the goods for export? How many months it take?
4 months.
4 months. Again, the goods and docs received export of US dollars 500,000. Export of US dollars 500,000. And then the bracket tag 4 months. Again, 2 months doing bracket tag 4 months. Right? Facility. Then you will get the money 60 days DA terms. Once you export the goods, after 60 days, again after 2 months, you will get the payment, export payment. But before that, we have to discount the bill. Discount the bill and keep it, get the money. That's a cash flow. Then make a room balance. First facility. Issuance of letter of credit facility. Issuance of letter of credit. LC side DC. Purchase of A on side DC terms. Side DC terms. Right? Side DC terms are issuance of LC facility to import. Issuance of LC facility to import raw material A. Raw material A. A within inverted commas. Right? Issuance of LC facility to import raw materials of A. Here the P NA element reasons of purchase of A on site DC terms locally. Make a site DC terms locally. Oh my God, so what happy moderate now? Make a site DC terms locally and the Makala Verdi. There are neither. The pudding a site DC terms locally. Gani at the other be able to custom duty and got Mankalpana, be able to able to get the nothing. What a mission like it. Oganda Mr. Oga. Ogamatek, Kugomisek, Oroka, Kivine, Kocher may make Vardanaka. Right? Purchase of A on site DC terms. Issuance of LC facility to A, local LC. Issuance of local LC facility. Local LC facility to A, to purchase A. Right? Import A purchase of A. Site DC can right? There are 6 weeks prior to the date of delivery. 6 weeks prior to the date of delivery. Then don't. Every month then don't. Right? They need the raw materials every month. Single shipment each month kila patangan nuda. Single shipment each month nang api mulindamma single shipment hekena every month api gandona. Every month ganna kota kochar the A wala amount එක US dollars A worth of US dollars
200,000.
200,000 US dollars 200,000 into how many times? Into how many times? Into how many times? Make question like Mankwane lead time key the lead time.
2 times.
2 times Indone. 2 times in
Yes. The minimum order level is there.
Minimum order level is 200,000. Perfect.
Yes.
Then 200,000 2 times over.
So minimum order quantity is applicable for material B.
The make a 200,000 order. The LC current order 200,000 order.
Yes.
LC, we have to open the LC for 200,000. Are you agree on that?
Yes.
Yes. Then my other question is how many times? Every month we'll have to import, we have to purchase. Every month we have to purchase raw material locally. Every month. Right? When we open one else, when we open the LC, එකපාරක් LC කරනකොට අපිට කොච්චර කලින්ද අරින්න ඕන අපි 6 weeks prior to the delivery. 6 weeks prior to the date of delivery. අපි අරින්න ඕන LC එක. හරිද? මේක අරගෙන shipment එක වගේ 6 weeks prior to the delivery. Date of delivery. Delivery එක අපිට අපි locally purchase කරනවා ඒක වෙනම දෙයක්. Locally අපිට මෙතෙන්ට අපේ warehouse එකට අපේ factory එකට bot එක ගෙන්න ගන්න 6 weeks before the requirement date එකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි අරින්න ඕන. But we need this good A to be received on a monthly basis. Monthly basis. The එකපාරක් ඇරියාම LC එක ඇරියාම බඩු වෙන්න යනවා 6 weeks. එහෙනම් අපි lead time එක කීය දෙන්න ඕනේ? Lead time එක කීය දෙන්නේ? 6 weeks. Lead time is 6 weeks. අපිට 6 weeks කියලා හදන්න බෑනේ. 6 weeks කියන්නේ how many months?
2 months.
2 months?
2 months. 1 and
1.5.
1.5 months.
1.5 months. 1.5 months. Not 2 months. 1.5 months. 1.5 months ගත්තහම 1.5 months නම් අපි මාස භාගයට facility දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි දෙන්නේ full months වලට. 1.5 months කියන්නේ අපිට 1 month වලට දීලා මදි. 1 month වලට දීලා මදි කියන්නේ ඊගා මේ බඩු ටික ආවට පස්සේ සයිට් ටක් ගාලා පේ කරාම තමයි LC එක ආපහු අරින්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. එහෙමනම් එකපාරක් අරින්න ඕන facility එක හත් තියාගන්න ඕන අපිට to open how many LCs?
2 LC.
2 LCs. Very good. To open 2 LCs. 1.5 කියලා අපි තියෙන එකක් නෑ. අපි එමෙසම කියන්නේ එක 2. Round figure එකකට ගන්න ඕන. 2 LCs. එතකොට 200,000 into 2. That is US dollars 400,000. US dollars 400,000. US dollar 400,000 මේක FCBU customer එච්චරයි. වෙන conversions නෑ. FCBU මේ ඒවා හදන්න ලේසි. Right? Okay. Facility number 2. Issuance of LC to import item B. To import item B. ඒක කොහොමද දෙන්නේ? ඒක කොහොමද දෙන්නේ? US dollars how much? US dollars how much?
Minimum order is 200,000.
Minimum order is 200,000. Very good. US dollars 200,000. Into how many times?
One.
Yeah?
Lead time is 1.
Lead time is
1.
1. Why?
Because for 2 months.
6 and 2 එකතු කළාම 2 months එනවා. එකපාරක් ඇවියම බඩු වෙන 2 months එනවා. දැන් ඔයා කියනවා lead time එක එකයි කියලා. ඒක
200,000 enough for 2 shipment.
very good. There you are. I think now you people have understood the whole scenario. හරි දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මම තව පුළුවන් නම් guarantee එකක් දැන් හොයාගෙන කරන්න. Don't miss this sum. Right? I'm very happy. ඔන්න ඔය argument එක යන්න ඕනේ. US dollars 200,000 අපිට 6 and 2 months යනවා. But even then, once we import raw materials of 200,000, that is enough for 2 months. That is enough for 2 months. එහෙනම් අපිට 1 දැම්මම ඇති. මේක කොහෙවත් නෑ කටපාඩම් කරලා මට උගන්නන්න තීර එකක් නෑ. කටපාඩම් කරලා ගන්න තීර ගන්න. ඒ තීර එක දෙන්නේ how many times කියන එක විතරයි. lead time එකකින් වැඩි කරලා ගන්න. මේ lead time එක වැඩි කරනකොට මේ වගේ දේවල් ආවම ඔළුව කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න. ඒතර මේකට උත්තරේ US dollars 200,000. US dollars 200,000. එච්චරයි. That's the answer. හරි දැන් බලන්න කොච්චර ලේසියෙන් ලකුණු 6ක් විතර නිකම්ම ඇවිල්ලා. ලියන්න ගියා නම් මේවා කොච්චර එනවද? වරද්දනවද? ඊගාට third එක මොකද facility එක? මොකද third එකේ facility එක? What? Facility number 3.
acceptance
Very good. Acceptance of
usance TC
usance bills. Acceptance of usance bills under shipment B. Right? Acceptance facility. Acceptance facility to accept bills under shipment B. කොච්චරද bill එක වටිනාකම වෙන්නේ US dollars 200,000. What's the lead time? What's the lead time? දැන් කියන්න වන්න උත්තරය ළඟ හිටියා නම් උත්තරය දෙන්න මිනිහට දෙනවා ටොෆි එකක් ක්ලාස් එකේ දාන්න. දැන් chart එක අඳලා තියෙන්නේ. ගාන කියවන්න. Purchase of beef from South Korea on 60 days using DC. So we have to settle it in 60 days. 60 days means 2 months. Then how many acceptance facilities we need? What is the full amount of acceptance facility? 200,000 neva. Iyak kita one other. එකකටද දෙකකටද?
shipment දෙකකට 200,000 no.
Acceptance bills කීයක් එනවද? first එක pay කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා.
only one.
Only one. Only one. නේද? Only one. මොකද අපිට එන්නේ ඊගා මාසේ shipment එකක් නෑ. ඊගා මාසේ shipment එකක් නෑ. අපි ගන්නේ every other month නේ අපි import කරන්නේ. එකපාරක් import කරාම ඇති නේද අපිට? හරිද? මාස දෙකකට ඇතිනේ. ඊගාවට එනකොට අපි acceptance එක pay කරලා දානවා. එහෙනම් අපි මේකට එන්න ඕනේ. 200,000 into 1 US dollars 200,000 US dollars 200,000 එච්චරයි. ඒක ඔළුවට ගත්තද අතන 2 months තිබ්බට lead time එක යනකොට අපි එක shipment එකයි කරන්නේ. දෙවෙනි එක කරනකොට අපි acceptance එක pay කරන්න ඉවරයි. ඊගාට number 4 අපිට ඕන import short term import loan facility. Short term import loan facility. Short term import loan facility. Right? Short term import loan facility to pay acceptance bills under B. To pay acceptance bills under B. Which is the amount in US dollars 200,000. 200,000 given only after 2 months at acceptance payment take around. You got a ego payment take around. Ego month take on nanny. After payment take in nanny. Ne? It's not 2 months, you know. මේව එකක්. නමුත් අපි පේ කරන්නේ එක බිල. ඊගව මාසේ තමයි ඊගව බිල ගෙවන්නේ. මාස දෙකකට සැරයක් තමයි බිල ගෙවන්නේ. every 2 months තමයි බිලක් ගෙවන්න වෙන්නේ. ඒ අපි shipment එක එන්නේ every 2 months නෙන්නේ. every 2 months නේද? මේකත් එන්නේ payment එක only one. දැන් බලන්න මෙතෙන්දී වෙනස් වෙනවා. අපි අර මම theory එකකින් දෙන්න බැහැ කියලා. theory එකෙන් දෙන්න පුළුවන් අද මේ lead time එක කියලා කිව්වා. lead time එකෙන් වැඩි කරලා ගන්නත් බෑ දැන් ගානේ හැටියට. ගානේ හැටියට lead time එක වැඩි කරලා ගන්නත් බෑ. ඒක අපි උදේ ආතනා කරලා බලන්න කරන්න. නිකම්ම lead time එක වැඩි කරන්න බෑ. ඇයි ඒක එකක් කියලා ආව එක තේරෙනවද? Why it was one? Because we are getting the goods. Once we get the goods, it will suffice for 2 shipments, 2 production cycles. So, ඊට පස්සේ අපි ආපහු යන්නේ 2 months වලින් 2 months වලින් තමයි එන්නේ. දැන් ඒකත් US dollars 200,000. තවත් ඕන එකක් number 5 facility එක. තව facility එක මට මිස් වෙනවා. මොකක්ද ඒ?
Revolving short-term import loan facility for raw material A.
පුතා හොඳයි එකක් වැරද්දුවා. පුතාගේ මේක දැම්මනම් ඕකට ලකුණු හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයා එක වචනයක් අනවශ්‍ය වචනයක් දැම්මා. ඔයා මොකද කිව්වේ short term import loan facility කියලා.
Short term loan facility.
Short term loan facility or overdraft facility එකක් ගන්න වෙන්නේ. ඒ මේක local නේ. import නෑ. import නෑ. short term loan facility to settle raw material A. short term loan facility. import loan නෙමෙයි. STIL නෙමෙයි. STL. right? short term loan facility. ඒක කොච්චර දෙන්නේ? US dollars 200,000 into කීයක් යනවද?
4.
Very good. Can I have your
4
name?
times.
I would like to. මේ ලියලා තියාගන්න
My,
ඕනේ.
my name is Tuition.
Huh?
Tuition.
Dishan. Very good, Dishan.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Because this is what we have to understand. Because every month you are getting a local purchase. Every month you have to purchase. Right? Before you get the money, it will take 4 months to manufacture the goods. ඒ වගේ මේ local purchases 4ක් purchase කරන්න අපිට සල්ලි facility එක දෙන්න ඕන. 200,000 into 4. US dollars 800,000. Good. Facility number 6. මේක facility ගොඩයි. ගාන පොඩි වුණාට ගොඩක් facility තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද facility number 6 එක?
Pay the duty.
Duty. Shipment duty. ඒකට දෙන්න මොකද්ද? එකත් short term loan or OD. Import duty. Right? Import duty. ඊයද මේ විස්තර ලියන්නේ විස්තර ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්නයි. US dollars 20,000. US dollars 20,000 into කොච්චර වුණාද?
2 times.
2 times.
Into 2 times.
2 times. 2 times තමයි ඕනේ. Even though it's 4 months, we will be having only 2 shipments. 2 times. So the US dollars 40,000. Very good. Facility number 7. Purchase of export bills. Purchase of export bills. කොච්චර දෙන්නේ? US dollars 500,000 into $500,000 into
2.
huh?
2.
500,000 into 2 US dollars 1 million. එච්චරයි. Right? Okay. මම මේකේ පොඩි change එකක් කරනවා. කරලා මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ගෙන් අහනවා facility. Purchase of B from South Korea on 60 days. On 60 days, DA terms. මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි South Korea වලින් බඩු එන්නේ. Purchase of B from South Korea on 60 days DA terms. Okay? You understood? After that, import of DA terms. එච්චරයි තියෙන්නේ. හරි? import of DC එක issue කරන්නේ නැහැ නේ. හරි. දැන් අපි කොහොමද ඒකේ අපි ආවේ B එකට ආවේ number 2 නේද? facility number 2 නේ. issuance of LC to import B නේ. දැන් එතකොට දැන් උතන කොහොමද change වෙන්නේ? Purchase of B from South Korea on 60 days DA terms. එහෙමනම් facility එක කොහොමද හැදෙන්නේ? අන්න මේකට හරි උත්තර දෙන මිනිස්සයා කෙලින්ම පාස් වෙනවා. මම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. කියන්න බෑ. අන්න. දේවාලට කියලා කිව්වා වගේ. Come on.
With the minimum order quantity 2 times. If there is no minimum order quantity, then 4 times.
Facility එක.
Yes.
Any other answers? Chanali? තව ඉන්නවා සෙල්ලන්න කෙරෙද?
No need to give a LC facility for that.
Huh? No
It's
need
on,
to
because it's on,
DA term.
yes,
Super. Is that Shanali?
yes, please.
Shanali, yeah. Excellent. If it is 60 days DA terms, no facilities, nothing. එහෙනම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දාන්න ලියන්න දෙන්නේ ඕනනම් නිකන් නෝට් එකක් දැම්මොත් examiner නිකන් he will be thrilled to see your knowledge and no facility needed for item number B as it is, as the purchases are on DA terms. ආවට පස්සේ ඕන එකක් දීලා ගන්න එකයි තියෙන්නේ. facility ගන්න නැහැ නේ. facility ගන්න නැහැ. සල්ලි තිබුණොත් ගන්නවා නැත්නම් නැහැ. DA වලට facility දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Okay. මේක තව මොකක්ද තිබුණේ? Indicating the basis on which the revolving credit limit for each facility computed. Fine. ඒ ටික ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් කරලා තිබුණා. දැන් මම මේකට additional මම මේකක් දාන්නම්. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම ලියලා තියෙනවනේ දැන් facilities ටික. Now can you tell me again I will be asking the one of the previous questions, right? Can you give me the collateral for each facility? Can we discuss the collateral for each facility? First, we will discuss facility 1. Local LC facility A. Any collateral? මොනවාද facility එක? collateral මොනවාද? මේක question එක මොකද මේක අහන්න question එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ ටිකක් කරකෝලා එන එක. local LC එක. මොනවාද collateral? හැබැයි LC එක කරනෝනේ. LC facility එකක් එනවා. එන collateral මොනවද තියෙන්නේ?
LC application and GSA.
LC application very good. දෙවෙනි එක
GSA, General Security Agreement.
GSA very good. තව එකක් තව එකක් ඉතින් කියන්න ඕන since it's a local LC 100% cash cover. Since it's a local LC 100% cash cover. ඒකට හේතුව if it is a BL then we are having some hold. ඒක BL එක නෑ delivery note එක ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේ delivery note එකේ මේ non negotiable document එක. ඒකින්ද අපි 100% cash cover ගන්න ඕන. Number 2 issuance of LC of B. One of the security documentation. Ken, one of the security documentation. B එකට.
General security agreement,
General security agreement, very good.
LC application,
The application,
and latest shipment date.
Soul of exchange.
uh,
Soul of exchange. Bill of exchange.
bill of exchange එන්නේ කොහොමද accept කරපුවා. bill of lading එක ගන්න පුළුවන් අපිට. bill of lading එක security එකක් වෙනවනේ. මොකද අපේ නම් බැංකුවේ නමට නෙන්නේ. හරිද? ඒතර ඒ තුන තමයි එන්නේ. acceptance වලට එනවා general security agreement plus bill of exchange. draft එකෙන් අපි accept කරන්නේ bill of exchange. short term import loan එක short term import loan unmute කරලා කතා කරන්න. එකම කට්ටියයි answer කරන්නේ.
Loan application and loan agreement form.
Loan application and loan agreement form. ඒ දෙක ගන්න. right? GST එකක් දැම්මම කමන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද GST will cover everything නේ. STL short term loan එකට short term right loan agreement overdraft agreement ඔය ටික දාන්න. bill purchase, export bill purchase. Export bill purchase වලට බාධා ඕනේ. මොකද export bill purchase වලට ගන්න. ඒක ඇවිල්ලා DA බිලක් ඒක රිස්කි. එතන bill of exchange එක අපි ගන්නවා. right? bill of exchange එක අරගෙන bill of exchange එක අපි තිබ්බට අපිට security එකක් නැහැ. security එකක් නැහැ. ඉතින් අපි එක ගන්න වෙනවා 100% cash covered ගන්න ඕන. 100% cash covered ගන්න ඕන. 100% cash covered කියන්නේ අපිට වෙන මේ cash එක නැතුනට වෙන collateral එකක් තියන්න. හැබැයි collateral එකක් නැතුව අපිට මේ not under DC collection bills වලට facility එකක් දෙන එක ටිකක් dangerous. right? okay. I බලමු බාන ඊගාව එක customer supermax buyer from USA, amount and terms single export shipment US$ 400,000 each month on 90 days DA terms, right? 90 days DA terms. In order to manufacture product, it is required to import raw materials from South Korea. Amount and term single import shipment of US$ 300,000 under LC terms, payable 6 days from date of acceptance by the issuing bank. In order to manufacture product, the customer will have to import raw materials from South Korea. Import LC for raw materials to be issued 6 weeks before the date of shipment. Goods and documents to be received in 2 weeks of the shipment. For each export shipment, raw materials requirement is $300,000. Each DC for import of raw materials will cover the requirement for one export shipment. The clearing charges and custom duty for each shipment is $10,000. Will have to be paid on arrival of goods. Right? Time taken to manufacture goods and export, it will be 3 months from the receiving of raw materials. The adinipul the Tagala, and the Adalatina Mega. Megana lazy. Customer FCBU customer. Lazy. Aravage complicated. Apicalima draw karamu straight line again. Left hand side corner. Import of raw materials $300,000. And they will sit them 6 days. 6 days users. Right? In order to manufacture raw materials of the imported raw materials issued 6 weeks before the date of shipment. Date of shipment, shipment date, Makala arrow making, then the very left corner to shipment date 6 weeks. Then they will take another 2 weeks to receive the goods. Right? Altogether 6 and 2, 8. That means 2 months. Goods and service, goods and documents received. Arrow එක පල්ලෙහාට දාලා එතන ලියන්න ඕන. එතන මේක acceptance immediately accept කරනවා. pay කරන්න තියෙන කොච්චරින්ද? 60 days from the date of acceptance. Right? එතන right hand side එකට තව 2 inches විතර ගහලා acceptance payment. Acceptance payment. කොච්චරද? 2 months. 2 months. Acceptance payment 2 months ලින් කරන්න ඕන. In order to manufacture the product, customer will have to clearing charges අපි මෙතෙන් දියා ගන්න ඕන. ඒක අද තාමත ගනවා. Clearing charges $10,000. අර goods and documents ආපු දවසේම ඒක යටින් පල්ලෙන් දීලා දෙනවා. Time taken to manufacture the goods it will be 3 months. Right? 3 months වලින් අපි මේක export shipment එක කරනවා. Export shipment එක 3 months වලින් කරනවා. Right? Export shipment එක 3 months වලින් කළාම අපිට accept from the acceptance date to the export shipment එදාට අපි bill එක discount කරලා ගන්නවා කියලා අපි assumption එක ගියොත් 1 month තමයි ඕන වෙන්නේ. Then for us to get the money it will be export will be $400,000. Each month on 90 days DA. 90 days DA. Before we get the payment, how long it will take? 90 days. That is 3 months.
So excuse me, the export will be 400 and the raw materials will be 300.
Yes. It has to be named. That's where the profit is in.
Right. Sorry, sir, I got mixed up.
Huh?
I got mixed up.
Yeah. You got my point, no? It has to be. Full loss. Right? And even if it is equal, it's loss. Might as well not to do the production. The 100,000 profit at 100,000 there is a profit. Right? Okay. Now tell me මම මේ ගණන් මේ වෙනතර මේව ඔක්කොම උගලට දෙනවා උනත් ඒක කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔබ ගෙදර දැන් කරන්න කියලා මොකද ළමයි ඇවිල්ලා මගෙන් ක්ලාස් එකෙන් ළඟින් නම් අහනවා. කො කරලා මට දෙනවා. දැන් නැති හින්දා තමයි මම මේ එකින් එක කරන්නේ. මොකද කට්ටියටත් තව කරන්න පුළුවන්. මිස් වෙච්ච කට්ටියට. First facility එක import of import LC issuance. Import LC issuance. Picture දෙන්නේ US dollars 300,000 into what's how many times lead time එකේද? Import LC
2 times.
2 times. I make a 6 weeks and 2 weeks can 8 weeks, 8 weeks can 2 months, but we need the shipment each every month. මොකද ඒක මම කියලා නෑ each every month කියලා උඩ තියෙනවා single export shipment of US dollars 400,000 each month කියලා. එහෙනම් each month නම් හැම month එකකම අපි imports කරන්න බෑ. එහෙනම් lead time එක 2 US dollars 600,000. එච්චරයි. FCB එකේ ලේසි. Second එක raw material එකයි ඕනේ. එතන එච්චරයි. හැබැයි මේක දැන් receive වෙනවා goods ආපු වෙලාවට මේක accept කරන්න ඕන. 60 days from the date of acceptance. Right? එතන acceptance facility for acceptance of draft. Facility for acceptance of import bill. Import bill के लिए क्या ना facility of acceptance of import bill. ये लिया गया. एक है बिल्ला US dollars 300,000 into how many times? Before we do the first acceptance payment, how many bills we have to accept? Here's the lead time එක. දැන් බලන්න තියෙන අර සරල රේඛාව විතරයි. ඇන්දනම් හරියට. මේ ගාන බලන්නවත් ඕනේ නැහැ. මට නම් පේනවා හොඳට. From the time we accept, how long it will take for the payment? 2 months. Until when we do the payment only, the acceptance will get reversed. ඒකනේ වෙන්නේ payment එක කරන මේ import loan facility එක debit වෙලා acceptance එක credit වෙනවා. ඒකනේ වෙන්නේ. හරි? එතන acceptance එක වෙලාවදී කරන්නේ acceptance එක debit කරලා credit කරනවා LC එක. එතන LC එක ආපස්සට revolving යනවා. LC එක revolving යනවා. මේ ඔක්කොම revolving facility එක ලියන්න ඕන. එතකොට දැන් මේකේ දෙවෙන්නේ 2 months. Lead time එක 2 months. Lead time එක 2 months කියන්නේ we'll have to accept 2 such bills. We'll have to accept 2 such bills. That is US dollars 600,000. Right? Then number 3. මොකක්ද අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ දවසම කරන්න තියෙන තව එකක් තියෙනවා clearing charges එක අපි ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන ඉන්න අන්තිමට දාමු ඒකයි ඊළඟට acceptance payment ඒකට දෙන්න මොකක්ද අපි දෙන්නේ acceptance payment what is the facility we give revolving Revolving
Import short term facility.
revolving
Import short term facility.
import short term import කියලා දැම්මට කමන්නේ මොකද මේකේ regarding the import short term facility to settle accepted bills, right? ඒක එන්නේ short term import loan facility, right? ඒකට එනවා US dollars 300,000 into how many times?
One time.
One time. Very good, because after 1 month you will get the money. One time. ළමයි හොඳයි. අඩු ගන්න ඔයගොල්ලෝ කතා කරනවා කියන්නේ එක්කෙනෙක් හරි කතා කරනවා කියන්නේ මට අනිත් අය මම හිතනවා හරි කියලා. Then තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් මගෙන් අහන්න. මම අනිත් එක්කෙනෙක් කතා කරනවා වගේම අනිත් අයලා තියෙන ඕන්ලාක මානවත්තලා. Then export shipment. නෑ ඊට පස්සේ ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා තියෙනවා. Short term loan or OD facility to settle custom duty. US dollars 10,000 into how many times?
3 times.
3 times. Very good. US dollars 30,000. Facility number 5. Export bill purchase facility. Export bill purchase facility. US dollars 400,000 into US dollars 400,000 into
3 times.
3 times. Before we receive the money of the first bill, we had to purchase 3 such bills. Lead time 3. US dollars 1,200. 1,200,000. That's right. Right? Okay. මයිද විතර ඉවරයි නේද ගන්න ටික. ඔව්. ඔයාලා දැන් මම දන්නේ මේ සෑහෙන කළා තව මොන හරි අහගන්න ඕන නම් you can, if you want, I can give you some more questions, some more sums. So otherwise ඔයාලා ටිකක් try කරලා බලන්න මේ IBSL එකේ DABF past papers වගේ ටිකක් අරගෙන බලන්න. අරගෙන තව questions ටිකක් හොයලා කරන්න. හරි? ඒතර උගන්න මේක එනවා. Okay. දැන් මම ඊගවට යන්නේ මේකට. Can you see this slide? Can you see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, fine. Okay. දැන් කරපු මේක කලේ නැහැ කියලා කිව්වම මම දන්නේ නැහැ. මට දැන් ගොඩාක්ම බලබලින්න බෑ අපිට කාලේ ක්ලාසස් 3-4යි ඉන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන්ද අපි මේක ලොන්තරම් කරලා බලන්න ඕන. මම කොහොම මට ලියන්නේ කියලා මේ ආටිකල්ස් උත් එක්ක හරි ආටිකල්ස් උත් එක්ක ලියන්නේ කියලා කිව්වා. නමුත් උගල කරලා නැහැ. We'll try to do few questions. මම ගොඩක් කරන්නේ questions 3-4ක් කරලා බලන්න. ඒක ටික ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න නැහැ. Right. Can you fill this blanks exporter is
Principal.
what is the blank?
Principal.
Principal. Second one,
Remittance.
remitting bank.
Remitting.
Remitting bank. Third one,
Collecting bank.
collecting bank, and importer is
Proving.
Rovi. Very good. Very good. Can you differentiate between clean collection and documentary collection? Can you differentiate between clean collection and documentary collection? Right? Against this, you better jot down, because I'm not going to discuss, right? I'm spoon feeding again. Read article 2C and 2D. Read
Collection and collection of financial documents only, not the commercial documents. Documentary collection means collection of financial documents with commercial documents, so only commercial documents.
yes. Very good. ඒක තියෙන්නේ පුතේ මේ ලියන්න ඕන. ඒතකොට ලියන්න ඕන as per article 2C and 2D. As per article 2C and 2D මොකක්ද කියලා ලියන්න. right? ඒ article එක එහෙමම ලියන්න. ඒක ලිව්වම ඔයාලට ලියනකොට තමයි මතකයි හිටින්නේ. Article 2C එක එන්නේ commercial document means transport document. Sorry. 2C. 2C clean collection means collection of financial documents not accompanied by commercial documents. Right? Documentary collection means collection of financial documents accompanied by commercial documents. Or number 2, commercial documents not accompanied by financial documents. The bill of exchange is not a must. Bill of exchange is not a must. Right? Taking the 2C and 2D එක කියවන්න. මේක මම කිව්වා. මේක අපි ඩිස්කස් කළා. Article 19B කියලා. Article 19B එකෙන් මේකට answer කරන්න ඕන. What is your position under URC viable to? You can't give part payments. It has to be full. But what would be your advice in this case? What would be your advice in this case? මේක මම ගිය පාර කරානේ. මේ කළාද නැද්ද ගිය සුවනේ? මට මතක කළා වගේ කළේ නැද්ද?
කළේ නැහැ.
කළේ නැහැ. එහෙමනම් කරමු. Right. You receive an import DP bill for $50,000. Your customer XYZ company informs you that they have cash flow problem and would like to pay $25,000 first, and the balance will be paid after the goods have been sold. Understood? What is your position under URC fileable? මේකට අපි answer කරන්න ඕනේ as per article 19B. 19B එකේ අපි answer කරාම as per the 19B partial payments වලදී ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා in respect of documentary collection partial payment will only be accepted if specifically authorized in the collection instructions. Partial payments accept karane if it is included and authorized by the collection order. Collection order එක කියලා නැත්නම් අපි partial payments accept කරන්නේ නැහැ. But now we have a problem with this customer. Now bill is for 50,000. He is prepared to pay 25,000. and he will say the balance he will pay us only after once he sell the goods scale. So what would be your advice in this case? The advice should be if this customer, one you have to say under Article 19B, partial payments are not accepted. We have to settle the bill in full. We have to settle the bill in full. Therefore, if the customer is one of your valued customer, if you are one of your valued customer, then you can consider to give him a facility. You can give him a loan of US dollars 25,000. Right? Customer එක අහනවා කවද්ද යාට ගෙවන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. අපිත් for 2 months වලින් එයා කියනවා නම් බිල settle කරනවා කියලා. Facility for 2 months or whatever. මේක date එක දාලා තියෙන හින්දා මේ dates දාලා නැති හින්දා මට මුත් කියන්න බෑ. එක විදිහට interpret කරता ඉන්නේ. අපිට කියන්න දෙන්නේ you have to agree with the customer regarding the payment date. Payment date එක බලලා අපි යාට facility එකක් දෙනවා. ඒ facility එක දුන්නාම දෙන්නේ කොච්චරද? තව 25,000 facility එකක් දෙනවා. දුන්නාට පස්සේ 25,000 plus his 25,000 50,000. අපි කෙලින්ම account එකට debit කරලා remit කරන්න ඕන 50,000. අපිට bits and pieces remit කරන්න බෑ. Bits and pieces remit කරන්න බෑ. Right? Okay. Make a case study to read it carefully. Read it carefully. Okay. Is remitting bank correct to claim interest? Collection instruction states that interest is to be collected at 15% per annum. Per annum ko 360 days basis. Why 360 days basis? අවුරුද්දට කීයද දවස්? අවුරුද්දට දවස් කීයද? Per annum. කීයද දවස්? මේ ළමයි අවුරුද්දට ළමයි
365.
යාම මරන්න එපා. 365 NIMA 360 days basis කියලා තියෙනවා.
Dollars when you're paying from the dollar. When you're paying
Yes.
from the dollars.
If you are settling dollar bills or anything in America, they take 360 days basis calculations. It's only for calculation basis, right? Not physically, but calculation basis, it will be 360 days. Okay. In respect of any delay in payment after the presentation. 4 weeks after the first presentation, drawee offers the principal amount but refuses to pay any interest. මෙයයි නම් කියන මේ presentation එකෙන් පස්සේ DA bill එක කොහොම කරලා මෙයා දැන් ඉඳන් කියනවා draw okay, I will pay the principal amount but not any interest. Not any interest. Right? එතකොට collecting bank remits principal amount. එහෙම කිව්වම collecting bank remits principal amount only. Miss charges they remit. Remitting bank එක ආපහු එනවා. රන් වෙලා demanding that the interest is also to be remitted. අපි interest එක තෝරයි කියලා කියනවා. Is remitting bank correct to claim interest?
No.
No.
They only can claim if there is a sentence called interest can't be waived. Otherwise, they can't do that.
What's your name for that?
Sandaruwan.
Sandaruwan? Okay. Can you tell me the article, Pudi?
Article 20.
Very good. Excellent.
Article 20C.
20C නෙමෙයි පුතේ මේකට උත්තරේ එනවා. 20C කිව්වොත් වැරදි. ඔන්න ඕකට තමයි මට එන්න ඕනේ මේ. කියවන්න ඕන හරියට. Article 20 ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගාව තියෙනවා නම් මේවා ටික බලන්න ඕන. 20C කිව්වොත් වැරදි. ඔකට අපි මේ අහන ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තර දෙන්න. අහන ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තරේ එන්න ඕන කීයද? 20A. 20A. මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පොඩි මේකක් දෙන්නම්. If you are not sure about whether it's 20A or 20C, but you know it is Article 20, හරිද? Sure much දැන් සඳරුවන්ට sure සඳරුවන් හරියට උත්තරේ දුන්නා. හරි? හැබැයි දැන් ඒ උත්තරේට මම මාක්ස් ටික ඔක්කොම දෙනවා. හැබැයි සඳරුවන් ලිව්වා නම් as per the මේ question එකේ හැටියට A ද B ද C ද කියන එක ෂුවර් නැත්තම් ලියන්න එපා. එතකොට දන්න එකක් නැති වෙනවා අපරාධනේ. 20C කියලා පටන් ගත්තොත් මේක උත්තරේ අපිට මේ ඕලංගින් අඩු කරනවා සර් මේක. ඊට වඩා හොඳයි as per article 20 කියලා ලියලා අර උත්තරේ එහෙම ලියන එක. එක්සැමිනර්ට බලා ගන්නයි කියලා ඒක article 20 ද C ද කියන එක. ඒක තියෙන්නේ ඔය කැලල තියෙන්නේ article 20A වල. කියවලා බලන්න article 20A. ඒක තමයි තියෙන්නේ. 20A වල කියනවා if the collection instructions specify that interest is to be collected and the drawee refused to pay such interest, the presenting bank may deliver the documents against payment of acceptance or on other terms and conditions as the case may be without collecting such interest. Without collecting such interest. Habay interest cannot be waived both as per the article 20C, then you can't waive it off. Right? Then you can't waive it off. Make it important. Make it article 20A. Answer. What does URC? Is remitting bank correct to claim interest? No. Remitting bank is not correct to claim interest as per article 20A. What does URC 522 say on that matter? As per the article 20A, blah 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 blah. You have sent out a DA 30-day bill for your export customer to the collecting bank. You have sent out a DA 30-day bill for your export customer to the collecting bank. You have received a due date advice from collecting bank. You have received a due date advice from the collecting bank. On due date, collecting bank sends you an advice of fate. Right? Then, remitting bank You have sent out a DA 30-day bill for your export customer. You are the remitting bank. Remitting bank has sent 30 days DA bill to the collecting bank. And you have received a due date advice from the collecting bank. Right? On due date, collecting bank sends you an advice of fate. Fate advice cannot. The director of import advised that the acceptance was signed by a clerk who has no authority to sign on the behalf of the importer. Importer now refused to pay. Bill of exchange acceptance in a not the authorized signatory, by a clerk. By a clerk. Is the importer correct? Were errors made by the collecting bank? What does the URC 522 say on the matter? Kalyan, is the importer correct? Importer correct? Can importer give message fate message hurry? What is the article?
Article 22.
22.
Very good. Excellent. Article 22. Namai Hudai. ඇත්තටම මම උගන්වපු පන්ති වලින් ඔයගොල්ලෝ S2කට නොපෙනී කීප දෙනෙක් කතා කරනවා. අනේක ලොකු දේ අනිත් අය ප්ලීස් ටොක්. ඉතින් මම දන්නේ නැහැ අනිත් අය තේරුණා නැද්ද කියලා. ඉතින් මම මේ කතා කරන ළමයින්ට තමයි ක්ලාස් එක අරන් යන්නේ. හරි අනිත් එක්කම කෙනෙක්ම කතා කරන්න බලන්න. Article 22. Article 22 එකේ හැටියට එහෙමනම් කියන්න is the importer correct?
No, he's wrong.
Huh?
He's wrong.
He's wrong. Importer is wrong.
Yes.
Make it the presenting bank is responsible for seeing that the form of the acceptance of a bill of exchange appears to be complete and correct, but he is not responsible for the genuineness of any signature or for the authority or any signatory to sign the acceptance. Apita බලන්න whether it has been accepted properly. Accepted properly කියන්නේ අපිට බලන්න ඕනේ මේක මේ company එකේ seal එක තියෙනවද? Accepted to be matured on such and such a date කියලා sign කරලා company stamp එක ගහලා company stamp එකේ අස්සම් කරලා තියෙනවා. අපිට ඇත්තටම ඒක අපිට තමයි අපි ගන්නේ හරි acceptance එක කියලා. ඉතින් මේක හරියටම තියෙනවා. ඒ දැන් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ මේ මෙයාට authority නැහැ කරන්න කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම දවස් කීයකට පස්සේද? 30 day bill දවස් 30කට පස්සේ තමයි කියන්නේ. එතන මේ බඩු මේගොල්ලෝ අරගෙන විකුණලා නැද්ද? මේගොල්ලෝ බඩු අරන් විකුණලා ඔක්කොම. හරිද? දැන් මේ payment එක එනකොට තමයි මේ කේස් එක ඇදගෙන ඉන්නේ. සල්ලි නැති හින්දා. හරි? ඒ සල්ලි නැති හින්දා සෙටල් කරන්න සල්ලි නැති හින්දා මේ කේස් එක ඇදගෙන එනවා. Import is wrong. They have to pay. Were errors made by the collecting bank? ඒකට කියන්න බෑ උත්තරේ. Were errors made by the collecting bank?
No.
No. Any other answers? Any other answers? මේකට උත්තර ලියන්න කොහොමද? Huh?
We have to check the signature by the collector.
ඉතින් මේක තියෙනවනේ signature එක check කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා. Article 22.
It is not a job for check the genuineness of the signature of that collecting bank.
ඔව් ඒක හරි. දැන් එතකොට ඒකෙන් තව කෙනෙක් වුණා මේ you have to check the signature කියලා.
Because normally the documents are coming on behalf of the existing customers. So we will have to check the signature, correction of the signature.
Correction we have to verify the signature.
Yeah, verify the signature. Because normally we don't accept, normally banks won't accept DA documents for any customers, only for the existing clients.
May I know your name please, please?
I'm Maheshi.
Nice. Now, 3 arguments. This I like, right? මෙන්න මේක තමයි අපි හිත ගෙන ගන්න ඕන කරන platform එක. Discuss. Now, Mahesh has given some reasons, right? Yes, it is not necessary, but කියලා එවිලා තියෙනවා. දැන් කවුද හරි? මේකට උත්තරය මම වැඩි කල් අරින්න නැතුව කියන්නම්. Is a collecting bank මොකද මේකේ තියෙන්නේ? Is the collecting bank were errors made by the collecting bank? කෙලින්ම point blankly ඔයාලා කියන්න තියෙන්නේ as per article 22 there were no errors made by the collecting bank. හැබැයි ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා but however අන්න දැන් එනවා මහේෂිගේ උත්තරය. අරක විතරක් no කියලා දෙබ්බනම් අපි ලකුණු දෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් මහේෂිගේ උත්තරේ හරියටම හරි. However, as a prudent bank, right? It is our duty to see that authorized people have signed and no negligence by the bank, right? As per article 9. However, as per article 9 කියන එක sentence එකයි තියෙන්නේ. Good faith and reasonable care. Banks will act in good faith and exercise reasonable care. But however, as per article 9, the collecting bank should have taken more precautions, right, by acting in good faith and taking reasonable care. Maheshika reply එක එතනට දාන්න ඕනේ. Mahesh, you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Excellent. ඒක හිතුව පැත්ත ඒක අපේ ආටිකල් එකත් කෝඩ් කරලා දැම්මනම් super. Article 9. දැන් අපිට කෙලින්ම point blankly fight කරන්න. හැබැයි under URC you can fight, huh? But as a were errors made by the collecting bank and hari vague question එක. ඒතර ඒ vague question එක අපි cover කරන්න ඕනේ හැම angle එකක්ම. Right? කෙලින්ම එවනම් as per the article 22 were errors made by the collecting bank? No. Make it were errors made by the collecting bank and very vague question. Right? See, it's open up for various angles. The angles take up it. What does the URC find to say on the matter? Sure, na? Then as per above articles, this is covered under above articles, article 22, as well as article 9 කියලා. දෙකම අපි ඩිස්කස් කරලා ඉවරලා ඉන්නේ. දැන් ආපෝසලට යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒ ටික දැම්මම මම ලකුණු දෙකක් දෙනවා. right? බලන්න කොච්චර අපිට කැරකිලා එන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. Okay. Case study 3, page 3. How about මේ පරණ කේස් එකම එන්නේ. මේ කේස් එකම එන්නේ. හරිද? මේක වෙනකොට අපි කියනවා දැන් දැන් කේස් එකක් ඇවිල්ලානේ තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? එතකොට how about if collection instructions include protest for non-payment? What course of action would you recommend? What course of action would you recommend? What course of action would you recommend? මොකක්ද දෙන්නේ ආටිකල් එක? Protest for non-payment.
24.
Article
24.
24. Very good. Very good. ඔගොල්ලෝ පුතේ කියවලා තියෙනවා. Right. Article 24. එතෙන්දී protest for non-payment කියලා තිබ්බොත් අපිට ඊට පස්සේ article as per the article 24 කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ එක බලලා answer කරන්න. නේද? What course of action would you recommend? අපිට තියෙනවා protest for non-payment කියලා තිබ්බට we have the right whether to protest or not කියන එක. Right? We had the right to protest or not. Normally, in general, whenever we received a payment, whenever we received a bill, immediately we, with the acknowledgement, we say we will not adhere to protest or releasing goods and storing of goods and insure them කියන එක. අපි දෙකම අපි රිෆියුස් කරන අපි කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒතරින් එහාට අපිට දෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ආටිකල් 24 මෙන්ෂන් කරලා යන්න ඕන. right. case study 4 එක යද්දිග එකක් මේක ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරන්න කරලා ඉවරලා මම next week ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක discuss කරන්න. මේ questions වලින්ම තමයි මේ වගේම ඒවෙන් තමයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට questions හැදෙන්නේ. ඒතර මේක හැදුනට පස්සේ ඔයගොල්ලන් මාත් එක්ක මේ දවස් ටිකේ හිටියොත් exam එක පාස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. right. දැන් මේ question එක අපි හරියට කරානේ ගණන් ටික. තව තියෙන forex එක විතරයි අපි මේක බලමු. forex කලේ නෑ නේද මං හිතන්නේ.
නෑ සර්.
forex කලේ නෑ. දැන් අපි කරලා තියෙනවා 1 2 3 4 5 6 classes අපිට 12 දෙකද තියෙනවා අප ඇති මට හොඳට ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ඩිස්කස් කරගෙන ගියාගේ මම next week one forex එක කරනවා forex එක කරලා අපි ගණන් ටික වලට yeah right okay ඔය දැතරම ගොඩක් අර ඔයගොල්ලෝ හොඳට කතා කරනවා නම් අපිට ඉක්මනට යන්න පුළුවන්. මම මේ පාර උගන්ට දාලා තිබ්බ නේද UCP 600 questions උත් දාලා තිබ්බා. අර ඒක දාන්න. ඒක ළමෙක් ඉල්ලුවා මගෙන් UCP 600 in Sinhalese translation එක හම්බෙලා ඒක දාලා තිබුණාද?
No sir.
ඒක තිබුණේ නැද්ද?
No.
මේක කියන්න පොඩ්ඩක් ඒක වඩ පොරොන්දු වුණානේ. මේක case study මේක අර UCP 600 සිංහල එක දාලා නෑනේ. අමතක කරනවද? අනේ දානවද දැන් දානවද? හරි? මේ පාර UCP 600 එක questions එකක් දැම්ම නේද? දැම්ම නේද? okay. okay. අරක දැන් දායි ඔයගන්ට. Make you received an import DA 30-day bill stating please analyze the bill of exchange. Bill schedule, please analyze the bill of exchange. So the bank should analyze. If they are not analyzing, they have to inform the remitting bank immediately. The bill has been accepted. Due date advice has been sent to the remitting bank. Right? Bill has been accepted. It has been analyzed. On due date, importer advised that the goods are of bad quality and refuse to pay. 30-day bill, the 30-day importer, the bill, the goods are bad quality, therefore I am refusing to pay again. You send an advice of fate to remitting bank. Then advice of fate taken on remitting bank. Sorry, my customer, my importer says the goods are of bad quality, therefore he will not settle the payment. The remitting bank replied that collecting bank must pay the bill. Remitting bank, don't try to play games. Please settle the bills. How will you proceed?
They have to pay because they already analyzed the bills.
Yeah, by analyzing, they have given an irrevocable undertaking. The collecting bank has given an irrevocable undertaking to pay. Therefore, they have to pay. No second words. What is the URC 522 position in terms of evaluation? Mega Karupagine, URC Bagapagine Karakina, Mugada URC 522 position in terms of evaluation.
No position.
Can I have your name? No position?
Sandharuwan.
Huh? Sandharuwan. Sandharuwan,
Yes, sir.
You are from which bank?
I'm not a banker.
You are not a bank. Oh my God. But you have studied the URC 522.
I read little, but don't answer the question. I go through site.
Right. Very good. Others, what our so-called bankers, what are their response? Sandharuwan says, non-banker says, URC 522 question in terms of evaluation, nothing. There's no article. Right? Now, next week, we will discuss this, and anybody who wants to challenge Sandharuwan, let us discuss it next week. But you have to read the URC 522 and then challenge Sandharuwan. Right? And the other time answer open for you to challenge. It's a challenge. Right? Okay. I'm measuring the north. So next week we'll do another session, new session, foreign exchange, and then we'll continue the discussion of these case studies. Right? Okay. Ready out, they see, the me paravage, me par keep it in a ready villa, taking the matter, make it lesson equal. Okay. Then if you have any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
Thank you, sir.
So when answering the usually 600 questions, there are a lot of sub-articles, so we need to go through one by one when answering. That means if the question is asked from article 20, I mean example, then article 20 have a lot of things A, B, C, D, F, G. So we need to write the answer to the exact point.
This is the answer to your question is various exams like my higher diploma in international trade and some exams like CDCS, right? UK bankers exams. I'm doing that also to some people. Yes, you are required to answer the question with articles and subarticles. But for you people, don't quote me, but my advice to you is, if you are not particular about the subarticle, don't go and write wrong ones. Then your answer will be entirely wrong. But if you say that, if you think that the answer is in the UCP article 20, but you are not sure about subarticles, just say as per article 20 of UCP. That's enough. After that, you explain. Explain කරනවා දන්නවනේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ explain කරන්නේ දන්නවනේ. article එකනේ sure නැත්තේ. As per article 20 කියලා ගෙවුවා නම් examiner කඩේ අරන් යන්න පුළුවන්. වෙන කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. මම මේ exam එක pass වෙන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට tips ටිකක් දෙන්නේ. right? අපි ඒක මේ දැනගන්න ඕන කොහොමද මේවා දාගන්නේ කියලා. right? Any other questions? හැබැයි එහෙම්ම නැතුව article 20 එකක් දන්නේ sure ම නැහැ 20 ද 21 ද කියලා sure නැත්නම් still you can say as per UCP 600. බොරු නෙවෙයිනේ. ඉතින් මට මේ ඕගන්ට බොරු කරන්න උගන්වන්න බෑ ගුරුවරයෙක්ට. බොරු කරන එක ඕගොල්ලෝ දැනගන්න ඕන. මොකක්ද කරන්න කියන එක ඕගොල්ලෝ දැනගන්න ඕන. මට කියන්න බෑ. ඒක ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැනගන්න ඕන කොහොමද වැඩේ කරන්න කියලා. අර එහෙම දුනොත් මම දැන් වැඩිපුරක් දෙනවා. okay.
So exam එකට මේ 600 එකයි 522 එකයි දෙනවද නැත්නම්
ඒක පුතේ මෙහෙමයි වෙනදට අපි දෙනවා 600 එකකින් questions හතරයි sub questions හතරයි 522 එකකින් sub questions හතරයි. මම මේ පාරේ හිතාගෙන ඉන්නේ දැන් මේ පාර ඔය දෙක නම් ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක මම කතා කරලා තියෙන්නේ. අපි බලමු කොහොමත් UCP URC දෙකෙන් එනවා. එක්කෝ එක question එක sub questions දෙකක් UCP දෙකක් URC වගේ. ඒ වගේ හරි එනවා. එහෙමද ඕනේ නැත්නම් UCP වෙනමයි URC වෙනමයි වලද? එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට URC ටික attack කරලා ඒ question එක ඉවර කළා දාලා UCP එක skip කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද you have
That is good, sir, because to UCP 600 and URC 522 in same question, then it is trouble for us. I think UCP 600 is too difficult to study.
the trade
That's
is
true, sir.
UCP 600 what to do?
UCP 600 and URC 522 as separate questions, then we can skip one.
Yeah, because I am giving you 7 questions out of 7. You have to answer only 5.
Then questions be UCP 600, URC 522, Forex, facility, Incoterms.
So you have the paper now? Why should I
No.
have?
No, I just guessed.
Sorry. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ first question will be multiple choice with 10 multiple choice questions.
Is it compulsory?
That is compulsory. Okay? That is compulsory. 10 multiple choice questions, two questions each, two marks each. Easily you can cover 12 to 16 marks. 12 marks na minimum උගන්ට යන්න පුළුවන්. 12 to 16 marks යන්න පුළුවන්. බය නැතුව යන්න පුළුවන්. මම දන්නවා. හරිද? Incoterms එකක් අපි දෙන්න වෙනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට සමහර අවුරුදු වල අපි දෙනවා UC URC විතරක් UCP නැතුව. එක්කෝ ඔය දෙක එකට මික්ස් කරලා දෙනවා. ඒ එන questions වල හිටියට. right? අපි බලමු facility sum එකක් අපි දෙනවා forex වල නම් දැන් මේ පාර ගණන් කරන්න ටිකක් අමාරු වේ බලමු අමාරු වුණොත් ඒ වගේ. නැත්නම් මම questions උගන්ට 7ක් හෝ 8ක් දුන්නා. 7ක් දුන්නාම වන් එක කම්පල්සරි වුණාම ඉතුරු 6න් 4යි කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් මට වන් එක කම්පල්සරි නොකර දෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. වන් එක කම්පල්සරි නොකර දෙන්න පුළුවන්. If you want, I will do that also because of this COVID-19 situation. I can give 7 questions. You can answer any 5. With the multiple එක ඕන එකෙන්ද try කරලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. කොච්චර වුණත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලියනකොට බොරු ලියනවා. ඒකට මාක්ස් එන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා ඔයගොල්ලෝ හරි කියලා. URC find about එක වුණත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලිව්වට සම්පූර්ණ මාක්ස් එන්නේ නැහැ. ලියන ගාන වරදිනවා. ගාන හැදුවොත් හරියට full marks එනවමයි. right? මේවා අනිත් ඒවා එනවා. ඉතින් multiple choice වල answer එකක් වේග යන්නේ නැහැ. කෙලින්ම හරිනම් හරි වැරදි නම් වැරදි. මම ඕනනම් දෙන්නම් ඕගන්ට ඒක නැතුව. කියන්නේ compulsory නැතුව මම දෙන්නම්. Because of this current situation, if it is face to face අපි ගොනනවා නම් අපි ඒක compulsory කරනවා. ඒකෙන් තමයි ගොඩක් ඒවා cover වෙන්නේ. UCP URC දෙකම ගොඩක් ඒවා cover කරගන්න පුළුවන්. okay. multiple එකෙන් cover කරගෙන අපිට යන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම cover වුණොත් මම multiple URC UCP දෙකම අතාරිනවා. මොකද ඒ multiple එකෙන් cover වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පාස් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. බලමු අපි. වාසන්න පුළුවන් කොහොමද වෙන්නේ. right? okay. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තව තියෙනවා you have to do an assignment. මම next week තමයි assignment එක දෙන්නම්. මේ සිස්ටම් එකේ දාන්න. එතකොට ඒක මට 2 weeks or 3 weeks වලින් assignment එක කරලා දෙන්න. right? assignment එක with about 450 to 500 words. We have to do some reading, outside reading, and then do the essay. Right? එහෙම නැත්නම් assignment එක what we can do, this is another option. How many people are there? 37 people are there. Right? Others are silent. Right?
Yes.
We can do the assignment. then assignment එක multiple දුන්නොත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගෙදරින් දාන්න කරන්නේ. ඒක බෑ. multiple දුන්නොත් එහෙම ලස්සනට ඉතින් ඒ පොත් ටික පෙරලගෙන සුමාන දෙකක් තුනක් තිස්සේ හොඳට බලලා මම normal assignment එකක් දෙන්න. okay. any questions? මොකද campus එකේ මම මේ පාර දුන්නේ multiple. campus එකේ කැලණි campus එකේ third year students අට මම assignment එකට දුන්නේ multiple. දීලා we have given them a timing. එදා ඔක්කොම කට්ටිය එකත් ඇවිල්ලා within 1 hour they have to finish it and load it to the LMS system. එච්චරයි. The answers to LMS system. ඒක මට හරි ලේසි. because I have given the answers also to the authorities. They have the system. Once you answer the questions, immediately it will get correct. But corrections on it there. Marks tika kelimena. That was much easy. But only thing is, then it has to be, those people also can refer books. UCP, URC පැත්තකින් තියන ඒගොල්ලෝ ලියන්න පුළුවන් multiple එක. But if you have not studied the UCP and URC, within that 1 hour period, what you people will do is you will scan through these pages up and down. උඩින් පල්ලෙහාටයි පල්ලෙහාද උඩට ආටිකල් එක හොයාගන්නත් බෑ මේක හොයන්නත් බෑ. අන්තිමේදී පෑ ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර ලියලත් නෑ. මේකෙන්ද මේ අර මල්ටිපල් ටික පොත තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. පොත තියාගෙන if you have a doubt only you can refer it. Not only that, you can keep your අපි කාටවත් පේන්නේ නැහැ නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගාව තියෙනවද කියලා මේ handouts ඔක්කොම මම දෙන handouts ඔක්කොම මේ presentation ඔක්කොම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට print කරලා තියාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන්. තියාගෙන ඒවා refer කරන්න හැකියි. questions එන්නේ ඒවෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි කරලා නැත්තම් පාඩම් කරලා නැත්තම් කොහෙන්ද හොයන්නේ? මම කියන්නේ post graduate එකේ ළමයි එකපාරක් මගෙන් ඉන්නවා. මම ඔයගොල්ලෝ අවුරුදු 4කට කලින් ඒගොල්ලෝගේ අපිට මේක පාඩම් ගන්න බෑ සර් යමෝරේ අපේ මේක අර ඇමරිකන් සිස්ටම් එකට we can't we refer the articles can't we keep the මම articles දෙන්න කියලා articles දුන්නා. Keep the articles with you and answer the කියලා. භාගයට භාගය fail. මොකද භාගයට භාගයක් ළමයි ඒ වෙලාව තමයි UCP එක පෙරලන්නේ. ඉතින් කොහෙද හොයන්නේ? වෙලාව ඉවරයි. The people who have gone through, studied, they gave us a perfect answer. පොතෙන් බලලා ලියන්න පුළුවන්. ආටිකල් එක පිටින්ම ලියන්න පුළුවන් නේ. ඒ පොතේ ළඟ තියෙනවා. රෙෆරන්ස් වලට ගියොත් අමාරු වෙනවා. එදෙන් පස්සේ කිව්වා එකපත්ව අපිට බැයි කියලා. ඊට වඩා හොඳයි මේ මම නිකන් as per UCP 600 article 20 කියලා ලියවනම් මම ලකුණු දෙනවා full marks. අරකේ දෙනවා නම් මෙන්න sub articles ඔක්කොම එන්න ඕන. ඒ ඉතින් පොත ළඟනේ. මේක මම කිය articles ඔක දෙන එක පාඩුයි. ඔයගන්ට පාඩුයි. අපි ඔය විදිහට කරමු. මම පුළුවන් තරම් paper එක one option එකක් එන විදිහට මම හදන්නම්කෝ. සාධාරණ විදිහට. Right? Okay. Any more questions? Anybody wants the questions paper? Anybody wants the question paper that you are going to get? එකක් තෝරනද? ඕනේ නැහැ නේ. එනම් පාඩම් කරන්න. මම බැලුවේ paper එක කලින් දීලා දාන්න. ඒතකොට ඔකට කිව්වල ඉවරලා විභාගයට ලියන්න. එපා නේ. ළමයි හොඳයි. Right. Okay, good night.